Hello and welcome in. This is NLC Div 2 back at you. Me, your boy J-Real, with Carvis joining me to take on a massive best of 5. This is number 1 versus number 2 in the regular split to see who goes to grand finals. Carvis, what are your thoughts?
This is a battle of the chefs. Both teams have
Oof.
shown so many unique picks throughout the season. And by unique, I don't mean like they play a lot of different champions. They play unique champions to the players themselves. We have on Rich Gang, Fruity Fresh, and Stumpy, the Finnish power duo, constantly pulling out stuff that nobody else plays. And on the other side, on fourth wall, you have the Ringer Ivan duo that was shown earlier on against Blue Whites in the previous set that they played. There's things like Toxis and Nivea. Nobody else is playing the champion, and he's winning every single.
And I think the big question is, there's a lot of cooking, but are we going to see Gordon Ramsay? Are we going to see some big movements, some Marco Pierre White, or are we seeing Linguini before the rat in Ratatouille? You know, so that's the big question, Carvis. Is it going to work out? Because as you said, there were some interesting picks, right? You mentioned it, Rengar and Ivan, being picked up for fourth wall. Not something that a lot of people play. Obviously, Ivan mid has graced people's screens before, but it's been a bit of a while. But then from the other side, Rich Gang, they love to play a bit of a Radiant Soul bot. That's banned. So their cooking is a little bit hindered. A few spices taken off of the plate.
There's still a bunch of mages left, but from what I've usually seen against Rich Gang, people tend to ban the Hui and the Swain as well. So we're starting to run out of mages. I think the only ones left are like, what can you even play? Ziggs? I guess Ziggs is still a thing that can be pulled out by Fruity, but we may see some actual AD carries played down in the bot side. I know, it's amazing.
Whoa, well, you're going too far there, Cox. You're going too far. You know, I'll believe it when I see it, right? They did play the Ziggs, so they played it in game 5, so it is something they picked up before. They've also played a bit of Kiana in that mid lane. Let's get into this draft. Let's see what they pick. There's a lot of diversity from both teams, and I'm just excited to be here. This is the upper bracket semi-finals. Winner goes to the grand finals. Who is it going to be? Rich Gang on the blue side.
And Smolder, of course. I didn't even mention that dragon. A Fruity Fresh famously got challenger when that character released, and for good reason it is banned out. Both teams targeting the pools of the specific players heavily. I don't think fourth wall has seen the light of Draven even once during the regular season. Not a surprise that it gets banned away from piping. Yeah, and Rengar, Hui, we're just going full target bans.
Yeah, and to be fair, I like this a lot. It makes me feel like, okay, the teams have done their research. They know what to expect. They know what to ban away, right? They're taking away the power picks, not necessarily the really in meta picks, but the ones that could definitely be utilized best by the other team. So I'm a big fan of it. Obviously, taking out the Rengar means you don't have to ban the Ivan realistically, because come on, who is playing Ivan these days except for maybe a couple of exceptional players? But it's a sentiment for me where Ari going to be taken away. We talked a little bit about it in the pre-game, right? We were talking about how Annie is actually being played a little bit because of the Ari. We're not going to have to see it today.
Champion in our division, simple 82. To execute. 82. It has won almost every single game the last time I checked. Meanwhile, fourth wall instantly responding with a Jinx. We've seen a transition more towards the hyper carry style meta. And Jinx Nautilus is certainly one to start snowballing with.
For sure. And also, like, I think it was Veteran that posted this on Twitter about Jinx in the major regions. It's winning a lot. I think I calculated it being like something like 78% win rate over that weekend. It was played quite a bit. It's winning quite a lot. Matching the 82 on the center could potentially be putting this one on the back foot now. And obviously, one big thing we got to talk about as well is the Rich Gang, they haven't been clean in their playoff run, right? They did go to game 5 against Ruza. Fourth wall, not tasted defeat just yet, but that Bron being locked in does give a lot of protection for the center.
Yeah, and interesting of you to bring up the Ruza matchup against Rich Gang. Blue Whites played against them earlier and eliminated them in a very convincing 3-1 fashion. So while fourth wall, we're very close to closing it out 3-0 against Blue Whites. Of course, we had fortunate incident there, but Rich Gang locks up the brand. And this composition, I have no idea what I'm looking at. Considering the meta that we've played in, Brand, Senna, Braum.
I'm thinking Brand jungle, But with this team, it could be brand mid. It could potentially be something crazy like brand support with maybe Senna and then Brom top. Who really knows this team? But Jarvan going to be the hover there, going to be the lock-in as well for fourth wall. I like Jarvan, right? Obviously, early game jungler has been really, really high on the priority list. Jin Zhao has been seen a lot. But Jarvan, for me, really, really brings home that early game essence.
Absolutely. Early game is incredibly strong, can be paired up with the Nautilus, a roaming squad towards the mid lane. And you have two very mobile characters already in the Senna and Brand that you can lock up into the Cataclysm. Now you just whatever combo you can think of with the Cataclysm, you remove, and Nivea is the first one. You don't want to be sitting in the Glacial Storm while you are standing still.
Also thinking, is there a world that we maybe see the return of Nav in? Do we maybe get the Gnar coming in? Is that a possibility in the top side?
It can be. Victor has been one to pull that out every now and then. What else has he played? Let me double check my notes here. I think Zac may be another one that they may want to remove, considering how immobile they already are. Having that dive body for the job and can be quite annoying. Also provides additional disruption and frontline for the Jinx to work her magic with. Meanwhile, for just targeting down Asumi's mid lane champion pool. Okay, Orianna, they don't want to deal with the Orianna combo, and now I'm assuming it will be the mid laner locked in for Toxi. Never mind, here's the Zac I was worried about.
I think the Zac goes well here, right? It's hard to counter pick. It's not going to have that crazy flip that you could maybe get from something on the mid lane, right? We're not going to get the worst pick ever, which is R5 Orianna in my books. I hate R5 Orianna, but we're not going to have it because it's banned. So we are going to get something a little bit different in the mid lane there from fourth wall. I like the Zac pick. It gives stability, it gives engage, and you've already got the hyper carry, so just set themselves up.
And Stumpy, they're hovering though earlier, but they cannot pick it. This is just.
I was going to say it's.
I think they're trying to send a message. We'd love to pick this here, but instead they have to go for the Volibear. Unlike traditional Volibear players, this is usually played in jungle. But Stumpy has been loving it in the top side of the map, so he's just going to head into the straight up 1v1 on the big bad bear. And Nico may be the final lock-in for Rich Gang. The only thing I'm really worried about if they lock something like this in is the damage department.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking that as well because yes, Senna is exceptionally strong. So is Brandy. It is going to be Nico, so that does give an extra level of CC, an extra level of damage. But what's got you? What's got you giggling?
They're hovering the Kiana in response to the Aurelion Soul hover. And if this goes into the mid lane, this could even be a valid pick against Nico. But Victor would make more sense. Of course, this isn't the most fun matchup. We haven't seen Victor in a while either. It does get locked in. I know this is something that Toxi has picked before and likes. It's just that Victor is in a bit of an odd spot on our current meta and patch in that he doesn't really do much in the early stages of the game.
I'll be very honest with you. The last time I saw Victor was when Garden Gaming played Ruza, and that didn't go very well. So I haven't seen Victor perform in a long time. It has been a minute since this champion has popped off. But what I will say is, if we were playing this game maybe like 4 years ago, Fourth Wall have nailed the comp, right? This is the comp you would have wanted. They got late game scaling. They've got Victor. They've got Jinx. They've got a front line that is just going to be just ridiculously tanky. I think there is a chance that they can play this one out if they play it slow. However, Carvis, on the flip side, there's a lot of damage that is just going to be thrown around, right? Pyroclasm is just going to do a lot of work. Volibear is going to have a lot of pressure. The Nico, well, if she just pops out where you're not expecting it, could just one-shot your backline. So there is a lot of threat from Rich Gang as well.
Indeed. And I think the most dangerous thing about Rich Gang is that... sorry. Even I'm scared, apparently, of the mid-game of Rich Gang. As these all three top side characters, Nico, Bran, and Volibear, are monstrous at one or two items. They just completely take over the map, and it is hard to man-fight them. That is where Rich Gang has to play, because as we previously mentioned, they are lacking a little bit in the scaling damage department. Sure, they have the playmaking potential with the Nico, with the Brom, providing additional follow-up and CC and protecting the Senna, who eventually will be very high range. Can they match up against a Victor Jinx?
It's It's tough. It's tough. I think scaling is going to be a big factor, right? I think if Senna can kind of get over the curve, get a little bit ahead, get some very high range, can really deal with the Jinx. The brand, again, depending on what the Pyroclasm hits, depends on how well I feel like it will go. If it does manage to land onto the Victor and onto the Jinx, well, it could be an easy team fight for the side of Rich Gang. But if they can only hit that front line, it could be a little bit difficult. Obviously, it will shred. It will cause issues. It may stop Fourth Wall from really having those solid team fights because of that. But I'm also thinking a little bit of MR on that Zac, a little bit of MR on the Nautilus. You get one good hook, a couple of rockets, the brand is dead, and then the team fight is yours for Fourth Wall. So I do think the scaling will come into it. I think, as you said, mid-game, where Rich Gang needs to play. They need to kind of set the tempo from early and take it home before 30 minutes.
Yeah, and as you touched on, the Zac is in prime position to hold off the mid-game push from Rich Gang, because Zac loves magic resistance items. Every single one of them is good. And we'll get to see, once we get into the game, will he rush a Spirit Visage or an Abyssal Mask and just be a complete monster? We are ready for game one.
Woo! Game one! Let's go! This is the semi-finals. Winner of this to the finals. Big stakes, big stakes. No one is going to go home, though, I will say, from today's matches, right? So there isn't the threat of, okay, this is our final potential chance at the shot. However, the road to finals becomes a little bit more treacherous if you don't win today. So with that being said, starting it out on the map, Fourth Wall with the 4-man mid, almost 5-man even, almost getting that hook, but a flash early from Sumi.
In the Finnish community, we would call this the old-fashioned. You just go mid, you have a hook, flash for flash. Now Sumi has to be afraid of the Jarvan the entire lane, where he's supposed to be the one bullying Toxic. This Victor's supposed to be very, very weak early. Nico can just walk up and QE as much as she wants. But now, every single time you press the root, you have to ask yourself, is there a Jarvan hiding with a red buff to amp gank above?
Yeah, definitely not the start you'd want if you're Rich Gang, but we are seeing Broder find where Deletus is. And it's going to be an interesting one to watch, I think, in general, because I am questioning where Broder's going to path, right? It looks like they're going to go clear top side down into bot lane. Obviously, a lot of pressure being put bot lane isn't too surprising from either of the junglers here, but you did also talk about that Volibear being a little bit dangerous too.
Indeed. And Volibear is one of those characters that, since he's been getting a bunch of buffs in jungle, not many people know the top lane matchup too well anymore. And this bear hurts. Even against someone like Zac, who tends to like these small, quick trades and regen his HP from the mobs. If the Volibear can force an extended fight, can maybe cancel a E that Zac is trying to escape or trade with, Stumpy can deal some major pain.
Yeah, Volibear can really fight with the best of them. It's definitely a bit of a scary one, not one that you want to find in the woods late at night. As right now, Greg going to take a decent bit of trading there. Level 2 from Fourth Wall early, going to give him that extra bit of damage. And now in that top side, we are still seeing this trade quite a lot, and Stumpy winning out over Sir Victor in the earlier stages.
And the important part is Stumpy's denying most of the blobs. Victor has to be careful of not losing his passive early, because that opens him up for any early dives. As you can see on the minimap, Broda has skipped his blue buff, instead going to path towards top eventually and play towards the strong Volibear lane. Let the Senna Brom play underneath the tower. Fabio and Pipey most likely not going to get anything aggressive done in this lane.
And I do really like that coming out from Roto, because one thing I do feel like is not utilized as often is that the fact that Volibear can just set you up, right? The brand, you can get the free stun, you can then get the lockdown, you can get your full damage off, and potentially just claim an easy kill, rather than having to scrap it out and potentially risking it by giving Python multiple kills early on. Although saying that, Stumpy may be able to kill Sir Victor before we even see jungle presence in the top lane.
Victor has to be really careful of the passive lightning as well. Any extra damage makes it so the Stumpy can land 1E, 1W, and the passive's gone, setting up for anything that Broda wants to do. But looks like the junglers are just finishing their full clears, while Rich Gang perfectly happy to give this top lane over to Fourth Wall. They can play with the priority as long as they don't punish and Nico to lock earlier on. And this is now just on Fourth Wall to make something happen with this early burnt summoner, and Deletus pathing mid already.
Yeah, it's starting to look around. Obviously, the Nico gonna get their flash kind of soon, so they do need to make a play quicker rather than later. But at the moment, it feels like Sumi is fine, and I am surprised there wasn't a play made from Deletus, right? Because of where the wave is, it's giving major issues for Sumi having to be so far up. But I think at the end of the day, it's better just to kind of slow it down. Fourth Wall, as we said, is the team that scales a bit better if they can get to the late.
And it's all on Toxie's Victor pick that is a bit of an anomaly. As you said, we last time saw it in the hands of Garden Gaming, who did not really succeed with it. So a lot of pressure on Toxic.
It was Ruza.
Yeah, it was against Garden.
Yeah.
I think that was the way. Yeah. And regardless, a lot of pressure on Toxic to make this pick work. And the early game looking a bit, it's looking a little rough. And Sumi will have a ton of priority even after level 6. If Toxic overextends even once, he will be stuck in a Pop Blossom, can't take any extra Q or E hits, because Victor surprisingly squishy before he gets his couple of items.
I want to see how this one does play out though. Like, I think that it's all quiet, Elvis, you know? I was expecting maybe a bit more fireworks, maybe a bit more crazy shenanigans coming out from the Brand or the Jarvan, but both teams settling for quite a slow early game. And also somebody is actually winning pretty hard in some of these trades. So Victor very much holding their own in this lane so far.
And the only thing Stumpy needs to be really careful of are these short trades that Victor is trying to pause, but he's gonna fight to the end!
Let's Bounce could be able to get enough damage. That's gonna be enough, and so Victor has just managed to beat the bear, able to sustain so well in lane, go back, get that Sunfire, and now just able to just do so much work. The Cinder just burning alive at the bear. We are gonna see a trade though of objectives, Carvis. That's gonna be Dragon at 40 grubs, and I feel like all in all, it's what we'd expect.
It is. And oh, the laser almost catching out the second grub there. Did they actually get it? No, they didn't. And as I said, objective trade, and you know, it's a slight disaster for a rich gang, considering this Volibear is supposed to be the strong side. You have the Brand pathing that lane as well. So now the kill threat is considerably reduced. Stumpy burned his ghost, so he can't stick to the Zac anymore. And he also lost the small HP lead that he had accrued through those extended trades. Victor, with the magic resistance and the Balmy Cinder, now can just focus on wave clearing and surviving the lane to the best of his abilities and get ready for the onslaught coming fourth point the mid game.
Yeah, we have to remind people at home as well. Like, this is a matchup that these two teams have played before as well. They played twice in the regular season, right? It was a 2-0 to Rich Gang. So at the moment, it is very much favored onto their side, but it does feel like Fourth Wall have come back stronger.
And Fourth Wall has also had a ton of time to refine their play, with the leaders being the more aggressive jungler. I believe one of the games against Rich Gang, they still had their previous jungler. And it was also with they were playing the very standardized composition. Fourth Wall was famous for very rarely pivoting away from their tried and true. While now they've started to expand a lot more on their champion pools and play to their strength. So this is a completely different beast that Rich Gang is facing this time around.
And slowly but surely trying to win this race. 8 minutes in, gold dead even, towers even. The only difference is the objectives. One Dragon to Fourth Wall, and the Rich Gang have the 3 grubs. This bot lane though starting to be a little bit treacherous, but Broda is here for the side of Rich Gang, so maybe going to be able to turn this into a bit of an advantage. But Carvis, what are you kind of thinking about how Rich Gang have piloted the early game, right? You said that they've obviously lost pressure in the top side. They've not really been able to gain too much in the bot side, and we talked about them having to win the mid game.
The mid game is still approaching. It will be the first and second items that really make this Rich Gang comp spike. And considering they've managed to trade one objective for one, while their mid laner had no flash for the early game, they're doing quite well. They just have to not get baited in by the Fourth Wall bot lane as the latest is looking for a gang.
Really looks kind of very far in the tower. Hook not gonna land. Blocks. He's gonna have to step away. You know, no potential for this Jarvan. Or the Deleus is still lurking around. They still want to try for it.
They need to break this freeze. Rich Gang are just pulling the wave upwards, denying any opportunity for Fourth Wall to make a offensive play down on the spot side. And as Broda is taking away the scuttle, this bot lane of Rich Gang needs to stay safe. This is a ton of time Deletus is spending not clearing his jungler, not keeping up with Broda's brand.
I thought for a second they might even bring Toxie as well. I was like, damn, Fourth Wall really want to go all in, but they are going to be connected over. Here's the knockup, there's the rocket, and the Cataclysm just sets it up for an easy kill for Pipey.
Hookline and Sinker, albeit in a bit of a different order, as Pipey gets hit by the hook and gives his support a hook. I'm not really sure how this goes. It results in an important kill. They break the freeze, they get the Jinx, the second blood, and the Stumpy! Hello!
But Cell Division is still active, so for Stumpy, it's not going to be a kill. It should just be a decent bit of damage, but Sir Victor is still vibing up in this top side, and the Zac is causing major problems for the Bear. As we said, the potential should have been over to the side of the volley, but it's just not working out that way. However, we are seeing a bit of progress from Brodo. That might potentially be 6 grubs. And with this fight in top side, maybe it should be secured, so Victor going to have to back away, but it is definitely going to be the grubs to be taken.
And again, this is just both teams playing to their win condition. Rich Gang know that they have to be the aggressive team heading into the mid game, so getting all 6 super important for them. Allows them to push towers a bit more aggressively, take them down faster, and any slight teamfight win can easily result in multiple towers taken, while Fourth Wall perfectly happy to give those up. They say, good riddance, we're gonna stick to these dragons, we're gonna be scaling up and playing for the Dragon Soul win condition, hoping that they get a good one. The only worrying part here is that the dragon was a bit more staggered than the grubs, so Rich Gang actually has a chance to respond here. Broda already heading to the bot side, and Sumi should be able... he actually got the reset already and teleported back mid, and now they look for the vision play in the
Broda is around this bot lane. I'm interested to see if Deletus does also match that. Sumi having a bit more roam potential as well, and it is going to be, as you said, Rich Gang on this dragon straight away, but they are being collapsed on by Fourth Wall. They're starting to mobilize units across, and Deletus looking for the pick. Does have Cataclysm as Toxie and back away from the Nico. Comes in and gets the dragon. That is going to be the pick, but where's the fight? Sumi with the double knock up in the backline, and now it's going to be too much damage. Brand with the double kill, looking for a third. Fabiox trying to run, will not dodge the stun, and now being damaged, but it's not going to be enough so far. Fabiox with the shield should be able to get out, as Deletus will accompany them, but 2 easy kills snagged up by Rich Gang.
They do get the dragon, though, and that is an important win for Fourth Wall. Shall they lose 2 for it? And it is a bit painful that Broda gets the double kill instead of, for example, Sumi. These 2 AP carry threats are supposed to be dealt by the Zac frontlining for them. He will be the main magic resistance building tank in the team. But he's stuck top lane dealing with this annoying Volley Bear.
Oof. That's all I can say, comments. Oof. The Volley Bear has started to be a bit of a problem. We talked about it being from the early. Maybe we just missed a couple of levels, but now definitely in full swing. Stumpy is starting to crush down Sir Victor. So maybe Rich Gang are starting to rear their head. They are starting to show exactly why they became #1 in the regular season.
And it has always been like this. Rich Gang, while they were very dominant in the regular season, they always struggled in the early stages of the game. But their macro and team fight coordination were always the factors that carried them to the many win. Fourth Wall, though, no slouches either when it comes to those. And it's, again, even with that solo kill now for Stumpy, top lane's fairly even, if not a small advantage to Victor. It's just that missing the cell division on the Zac makes him so much more vulnerable to the tower dives that we already talked about. They weren't there in the early game, but one mistake is now costing the entire topside pressure for Fourth Wall.
Yeah, and Rich Gang, can they start to pivot the dragons into their favor, right? That's the big question on my mind. If they can start to set those drakes, stop the objective control coming out from Fourth Wall, well, then they really will start having that grasp of the game. Also, we're getting into that mid game. Like you said, this is the power spike for Rich Gang, and now it's Fourth Wall's game to just survive.
And they're on good pace to do so. Not losing too much just yet. But can they count minions though? Here comes the AD carry check. Are they aware? No pings yet into the minion wave. Asumi dealing quite a bit of damage while disguised. They should know something is up.
Walking so far forward, however, it doesn't matter. The Pop Blossom is still going to land, and it is still going to be Fabio going down. How? Oh, how, Comet, did that happen? Greg now in a tough situation. Will be able to finally jump away. But they knew that Sumi was there.
I think Fabio got a little bit overambitious, looking for the hook onto the Nico from finding a pick, but they still want to go for the engagement. Fruity's been locked on.
Dawning Shadow's going to come through. The rocket already utilized. The Lynx is now going to be removed, and TP's coming out as well, but Stumpy is there too. The Jinx going to have to flash away. IP is out of it, but Sir Victor right in the mixer, taking a lot of damage. Will start to burn. Cell Division will split them up, but this time he will not survive. Goodbye to the top lane as fourth wall are beginning to crumble.
Fabio has already respawned. This has been such a long skirmish with no objective to take. Even Dragon's still a minute away, but with these low HP boss, fourth wall can continue this push and try to look for the first tower. None have fallen just yet, and both of the carries on the spot side would love to get the additional gold provided from this. The top lane tower really low for fourth wall, so that will be falling in a future push as the hook lands.
Kills the bear as well, so they actually have made something happen. They're still looking for that pick, but here comes the mid lane. Asumi is back again. Pipey going low, will fall down. And Toxie going to be the next on the list, although does manage to trade one back. Fabio though, it's rough, Comet. It's rough. You're a Nautilus. You're trying to leave the lane. There's a lot of damage being thrown onto you. You get the hook out, but is it enough? He dodges one, doesn't get the second.
Can't dodge the DOT, and Brand now 5-0-1. First item has been hit, Rich Gang has been activated, and fourth wall getting a little bit overambitious, going for the play that would make the situation even, trying to keep it as close as possible as they scale up to the later stage of the game and get punished hard for their greed. The bot side collapsed, perfect from Sumi and Broda. They find the angle, even though they lost Fruity Fresh. That's Senna, who's been farming up a storm, and her items are so cheap. Doesn't really mind losing a couple of ways and dying for the rest of his team, who are looking to accelerate onwards towards this dragon.
First tower secured by fourth wall as well. So overall, they did manage to make something happen in terms of objectives. Now they're the first ones to move towards the Drake 2. No TP on Stumpy. It is a 5 versus 4, but obviously the item advantage from the side of Rich Gang. Is it enough? A lot of CC onto the carry. Broda is going pretty low, but has dropped most of their damage. Will it be enough though? Burning through the team. They are starting to take many members. Fourth wall now fighting on the back foot, but now they're stepping forward. Pipey trying to finish off the kill.
What?
Just living. Flashes into Toxie though and will finally fall down, but Stumpy has just been pressuring on the top side. Dragon, not the cool. Tower 2 is.
Let's just call it a dubstep flash from Fruity. Knows that the fight was 4-on-5. Tries to go for a fancy play towards the end. They already denied the dragon take from fourth wall by playing that team fight even enough. Stumpy gets the 2 towers on the top side, and with these teleports coming in from fourth wall, they want to secure this Dragon Soul as fast as possible. But I'm not sure if they have the damage with Stumpy so close already.
Yeah, we're going to talk about if it's worth it, but we'll talk about it once this fight happens, because Stumpy is near, is going to be rooted up, and Gravity is going to hold him back, but it may start to sow that seed of doubt into fourth wall's mind. Are they going to keep doing the Drake? So far, they are happy to go for it. They're going to go for the play as well. Bruder on the backside, you need to be careful of the brand, but it is Deletus that is being focused at the moment in the pit. Going to be stunned up right into the hands of Fruity Fresh. Another kill to the ADC, and Dragon, yes, taken by fourth wall, but Comet, like I said, is it worth it?
This one was definitely worth it. Similar to the previous steal on the second dragon, they only lost the jungler, and there's no way that Rich Gang can punish them hard enough for it to be game defining in any way. Instead, they secured themselves the Dragon Soul opportunity in 5 minutes, which would be huge considering the amount of health coming in from Rich Gang. The Ocean Soul will help defend against any incoming poke considerably. But this always comes with a caveat. Now, Rich Gang, while they've won a couple of team fights, they've accelerated their second item to spikes, and they have the Herald to play with, and they're probably going to use it quite quickly towards the mid outer tower.
Outer tower. I like it. It opens up the map a lot. It gives you a lot of potential for more deeper vision as well. And I will say, Rich Gang, they were about 3k gold up before those dragon fights. Now they're about 4, so they are starting to keep that lead going. If we look where the gold is, Broda is very, very far ahead. Pretty much the only reason the Rich Gang are ahead, but look at the gold lead.
He's been getting all the kills and positioning for them as well. Just getting flanks, getting the ultimate bounce into the back line, forcing the fourth wall carries to, well, fight to the death. There's no getting away from a Rylai Leandri brand. You're gonna have to either kill him or die. And so far, it's mostly been the death.
It's hard. It's tough though, because like if you try and play into a brand, he can just dump a load of damage, and what can you really do, Carvis? Right? There isn't really much rebuttal to a fireball in your face. But they have to make it happen, right? They have to find some way of diffusing this problem and maybe just getting a pick right. But it becomes harder and harder the further ahead Rich Gang get, which is not be a statement. But if Fourth Wall can scale to the late game, maybe they overcome that.
If they can get a Liu to engage on their own initiative with the Zac Job and Victor combination and pop someone from Rich Gang, it's almost an instant teamfight win. It's just finding that angle while dealing with the sideways is super annoying, because now Toxie's stuck playing the sideways, sometimes you have Victor there, and Rich Gang have so much burst on the Nico, on the Brand, whoever they send to these side lanes can almost instantly delete the wave. And if they are the ones with the advantage on the rotations, they have the initiative on engaging.
Tower is not safe. Here comes the Herald, crashes straight in. That's going to be a quick tower take. The Stumpy also in the wings can turn off the tower with Stormbringer. The hit. The tower is turned off. The wall has been broken. Fourth wall dissipated. 2 members alive, but they have to run for the hills. And the Herald is still ready to charge. That is going to be the 3rd charge of the Herald. The 3rd tower in mid, and potentially a game-breaking moment.
Well, Victor had the initiative, jumped into the backline, found Brand. Sumi found the rest of his team. Just beautiful, beautiful engage from Sumi. Playing with the Volley Bear, they have dive buddies as well. And the lack of damage doesn't matter if the enemies are not tanky yet. They melted that engage. I wish we had a replay of that because it was beautiful to look at. And now Fourth Wall are in big trouble. So much gold went over to Rich Gang that they already have 3 items on the Brand, and they're supposed to be fighting over this Dragon Soul that's coming up in a minute. Sure, they can set up vision and look for picks, as they do.
They're looking for it, but they're not finding anything. They're not landing, and now Stumpy is charging into the backline. Fabio in big trouble. Delita's trying to buy some time, and Toxie is getting quite a bit of damage onto the side, and they've managed to take down Broda. That's a huge pick for the side of Fourth Wall, but can they keep it going? Because Stumpy on the backline, Pipey is in trouble, gonna be taken down by the bear, and here comes the rest of the squad. Rich Gang are showing they are still very powerful without the Brand, but can they do enough? Stumpy, now the main hero for this fight, Toxie taking them down, and somehow, some way, Fourth Wall has started to bring this fight back. Carvers, they're looking like they might be able to make it out if they can just buy time for Toxie. Stumpy now stunned up again, forced to fight backwards, and is now in a bit of trouble, having to
don't have the damage
later and later. They don't have the damage guns. They don't have what is needed, and Toxie is able to free hit. The lasers are hitting. They're slowly whittling down Rich Gang, but they will finally be able to find one kill unless they want too far forward. Stumpy is now onto Toxie once again. They're trying to run for the hills, but the team are here to clear. They're here to hold the CC. They're holding the line, and they will finally win the fight.
We are not done yet. Sumi's teleporting in. Everyone has respawned because it took so long to kill the Volley Bear. But Nautilus and Jinx on the flank. Rich Gang are outmanned and outgunned.
Broda does have Pyroclasm, just waiting for the team to join. Sumi also available with the Pop Blossom. A lot of damage could come out, and Deletus is trying to do this dragon, but it's not going down quickly. 4,500 still on this objective as IP getting knocked off. Will be almost taken down. Finally, will fall to a little bit of extra damage over the top of Fruity Fresh. It's also taken out. Broda now the last hope for this team to secure the dragon. And to be honest, Carvis, I asked if it was worth fighting for the dragon early for fourth wall, but Rich Gang, it felt like they threw away a massive lead.
Rich Gang just kept it going for no reason. Okay. That's a long sequence of events. How did it start? Fourth wall, trying to set up vision, find Broda separated from the rest of the team. And that was the key that pretty much resulted into this entire sequence. When Broda is dead without the rest of his team following up, they don't have the DPS necessary to blow up any of the carries, even if Sumiland's pop loss. Fruity did his best, but being locked up in the Cataclysm with no flash with the rest of the team against a Zac and a Jobin, it was impossible for them to win without some additional AoE of their own. After that, fourth wall managed to take out all the DPS, being left with only the frontliners, Greg and Stumpy. But neither had the DPS to take each other down, except for Toxie, who was really low, which results in this weird cat and mouse sequence that eventually fourth wall managed to win. After that, it's just a staggered response from Rich Gang that heavily gets punished by fourth wall, and they're 100% back in the game now.
All I'm saying is we don't even have to say cat and mouse. We can just talk about Leonardo DiCaprio versus a bear. You know, that was kind of the energy here. The bear's doing a lot of damage. It's very scary, but he's just surviving. You know, Toxie is just living and never going to fall down. But Baron is going to be next on the agenda, Carvis. They are looking to take this one up, and fourth wall, they know this is happening. They're starting to group around, but can they get in there? Can they reliably find a way to bring their carry through? Because Stumpy isn't there, but does have TP, so one you've got to be cautious about. And the Baron, it's starting to go pretty low. 4,000, I believe, on the HP. It's ticking down, but they don't want to risk the flip.
And remember, Rich Gang has no consistent way of interrupting the Zac hop in. They would have to burn a major cooldown, something like a Braum ultimate to cancel the coming in fast. So they, whenever they are starting up, whether it be Dragon or Baron in this sort of a concave situation, they have to be extremely careful and pick their fights carefully. Not only that, now they have to deal with the Ocean Soul and the fact that every single member of fourth wall has magic.
I do indeed. Stumpy has potentially made this a 4 versus 5. Obviously, the Victor does have TP as well, so could join the fight still. 4,000 left on the Baron. They might just keep going for this. They might just take it all the way. It's not stolen this time. And now this could have set up a really bad situation for fourth wall. Deletus going to have to flash away, but it may not be enough. Sniped down. And that is going to be a quick kill for the side of Rich Gang. They've taken up the Baron, and they've maybe regained the control they lost around the dragon fights.
This is the chance for Rich Gang to get something going on the map. Delete is one of the major engaged tools to follow up with. Currently missing for another 20 seconds. The mid lane inhibitor will surely fall, and Pipey is linked off the rotation, trying to clear his own bot side jungle. And the top lane wave crashing in as well. Gregory and Sumi low on HP though.
Siege time, 11 seconds left on the spawn as in goes the Victor, trying to get into the backline, causing major issues and not taking too much damage, holding the line and forcing them back, and will do a good job. Tower will survive a little bit longer. Cannon needed one more shot, so will not be able to pick up that one, but the base, it stays strong. Fourth wall, hold out. However, Baron still alive, the buff still up for another 2 minutes.
And fourth wall would just want to buy as much time as possible. Chase Rich Gang until it's not safe to do so anymore. You have the pink wards to play with, and buy as much time as possible. Get the Baron defense going, push the waves as far as you can. You see that the bot side wave is already at the second tower. No need to deal with that. Victor and Zac can push the cross map at the same time, while Jinx holds off the super minions in the mid wave. Without Rich Gang grouping, there's no danger for it really. And they can just hold on until the Elder Dragon becomes a threat.
And I've got to ask, Carvis, we talked about 30 minutes being a big moment for the side of fourth wall. Obviously, that is indicating the later stage of the game. Are we starting to see the shift of power hand over to fourth wall?
You already saw it a little bit in the way that Victor face tanked the entire burst of Rich Gang and didn't fall below half HP. Was just completely fine, able to regen back up with the blocks from the ultimate hitting the minions. And yeah, I think Fourth Wall may have held on for long enough. They have the 3-item Jinx, even having some additional resistances from the Morph. While Mortius isn't afraid that the Senna can reach him. And Stumpy, maybe testing a little bit against Victor at the top side, but neither one of these can probably kill the other.
Indeed, right now we are going to see quite a long fight if we do spectate this, but Dragon is spawning, right? And we've seen 4 Dragon fights, or sorry, 2 Dragon fights that are really memorable. This is going to be the biggest one, right? Elder Drake could be the key for victory right now for Rich Gang. If they can bring this one back, they can win a fight and end the game quick as anything. However, if Fourth Wall keep their consistency on these Dragons, I feel like this is going to shift the game into their favor once and for all. So big fight here, Carvus could decide the game.
Rich Gang do have the flank on the volley bear, but Victor looking for stragglers. This is where Broda got caught before, and Fourth Wall have good vision set up around the area as well. They found Foxy!
WO's being caught out here. He's going to be set on fire here. Sumi, but doesn't actually get a massive knock over the bear. Is in the back line. IP is going to fall down. Another kill secured as Elita's trying to make something happen, trying to bring the team back into it, but will be removed once again. And Savicta was so tanky before, but not today. Another kill going to go down, and Toxie having to just run away from the bear. That's 4 kills and potentially the game, Carvis.
Fourth Wall fall prey to their own battle strategy of splitting up the enemy team, separating the carries at the front line. Toxie gets caught out by the Braum ultimate while they were trying to start up the Elder Dragon positioning game. And it just felt like Fourth Wall didn't really even participate in that fight. There's still 2 members left to defend, with Fabio and Toxie doing their best, but against the 5-man squad, even with the triple stun. They get the Jinx reset though.
IP coming in, is it enough? Not enough time. Nexus will fall. Fourth Wall removed. Tasting defeat in the playoffs. Rich Gang 1-0.
And what a game 1 it was. Both teams with a clear game plan, executing it quite well. Even after the small blunder, where Fourth Wall almost make the comeback, a critical pass back where we play catch here in game 1. As Rich Gang take the game 1, but I don't think either team is too happy in the
definitely a couple of notes. I feel like Victor, it still feels like it's taking too long to scale. It still feels like it's not the right place in the meta. Nico, however, pretty good. Yeah. We'll say. Either way, we're going to have a little thought about what happened in game 1. We're going to go to a quick break and we'll come back for game 2. It's a best of 5. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Hello and welcome back. Ready for game number 2. And Carvers, we've got to discuss a lot of stuff, right? We've heard that Fourth Wall have gone red side again. And I'm a bit surprised. I'm a little bit like, what are they thinking about switching up? Because they're red game 1, and I feel like at the moment there's so many strong picks that blue is so good.
So it's gonna be one or the other. It's gonna be either they change up the bans, maybe deal with the Senna that way, or they have a new plan to deal with the Senna, which will almost 100% guaranteed be picked by Rich Gang on blue 1. It is somehow increasing its win rate. I have no idea how at this point. And it seems like Rich Gang came fully prepared to have all 3 bans be towards Fruity Fresh's major pool.
Yeah, and I feel like they threw out the wild card. They said, yeah, you're going to ban majors, and we're going to pick an ADC. You know, not what anyone expects. And that's really the play. You know, expect the unexpected. The expected was majors. The unexpected was an ADC. And the center, it worked really well. I don't think it was necessarily the key component, though. I would say there's a world where you maybe ban Nico or Brand as well. I think that Sumi just played it really nice. There was a lot of moments where the Pop Blossom just kind of landed a little bit flush, and there wasn't really much the Fourth Wall could do. They're just suspended. And if we look at the fight around mid, when they took all 3 towers, I feel like that was the perfect example of just there isn't a lot you can do if you don't predict Sumi. So in my mind, maybe Nico gets banned out, maybe Senna, but then you leave up those majors in that bot lane.
Yeah, I think one interesting proposition I might have is leaving, for example, Senna and Hui open. Say to Rich Gang, if you take the Senna, we're going to take the Hui, since Toxie's very good on it. Already played it a couple of games in the regular season, was successful. Or you take the Hui, we're going to take the Senna. Now we have the highest win rate champion in our entire league.
I like it. Let's get into draft, though. Let's see what changes. Let's see if there's any new stuff. Let's see if there's some... Maybe we get a solo run back. Who knows? But let's get into game number 2. Rich Gang still on the blue side. Draven's still going to be banned out, and so is Smolder.
No surprises yet. I think the last slot is where any weird stuff may be happening if it comes to the bans. Something that they could also do is leave the Swain open. That's more of a counterpick to compositions that run a ton of melee champions, which have been quite popular in our leagues. Well, Rich Gang keeps everything the same way, fix it if it's not broken.
And so far, Fourth Wall haven't changed anything themselves. They banned the Hui, they banned the Smolder. If they ban Swain as well, it's just the same standings, and we can guess who gets picked B1, eh?
It's either going to be Nico, it's going to be the Senna. Most likely going to be the Senna. Whoa, incredible. We're all
Shocker.
Okay. Now for Fourth Wall, though, I think they're going to pick up the Nico, just to prevent the same sequence of events that happen in Game 1. This also provides them with a valuable backline access tool towards Rich Gang's possibly high-range composition. But here's Aphelios already locked in.
That was not what I was expecting. I wasn't predicting Aphelios. I think Aphelios can be strong. Obviously, he does have a lot of range, especially in those early levels. But I don't know how they're going to navigate this one, to be honest, guys. I'm a little bit stumped. And talking about stumped, Maokai being hovered.
I'm amazed that wasn't intentional. Or was it? Nobody will know anymore. The Aphelios, though, is Pipey's most picked champion, I think, after the Jinx, or is it the other way around? Can't remember the stats exactly, but it is one way or the other. And Rich Gang, okay, even though fire hard counters grass and trees, they won't go for the brand again, instead choosing to pick up the Viego and the Nautilus that Fourth Wall previously locked for themselves.
Yeah, I am quite surprised that we don't see the brand again. I think that it looks really, really solid. Yes, I do think Viego is very strong, but I feel like there was kind of that extra level. But maybe they said, you know what, we had a lot of magic damage.
That explains the Aphelios.
Okay, all right. I'm going to rewind myself. Last champ select. I said, you ban the Rengar, you don't have to worry about the Ivan. Apparently I lied. Apparently you do still have to worry about the Ivan, which I'm I'm not going to lie, Carvers. I don't have loads of experience with the Ivan in the game without the Rengar. So talk to me. Talk to me about this pick.
High tempo jungler, clears very fast, and is unique in being an enchanter that can frontline for your team.
Oh, we're expecting Ivan jungle now. We're not going Ivan mid.
I'm pretty sure this is going to be Ivan jungle.
Okay.
If this were to be an Ivan mid, which is still possible, the Syndra ban, okay, they're banning all the stuff that's good against Ivan, but if this is an Ivan mid, I'm not sure myself what they would pair it up with in the jungle. It would have to be something.
Because Rich Gang are banning things in the jungle as well, so it's yeah.
So again, Kindred, for example, would be amazing. They blind Gwen.
They're bold. They're bold. They want to keep you guessing. They want the flex alive, Carvers. They don't want to let you know.
You are correct. This Gwen can also jungle. I am fairly sure that Deletus is the one that has brought it out in the past in one of my casts. I could be wrong on it, but I think I remember seeing something like that. Annie gets locked in for Rich Gang, providing more utility, very good pairing with Viego as well, can chain the stuns, and you can shield Viego for additional movement speed, and overall just a good champion at the current moment. Here comes Stumpy's blind pick top. Gragas would do well into Gwen if it ends up being Gwen top lane, but I don't think so. I think Fourth Wall are cooking here.
Fourth Wall are definitely cooking. I'm also interested about the Annie, right? I still don't know how I feel about the Annie. I'm still not super sold on it. You said it's pretty good. We'll see how that one works out. Fire does burn trees, so they've stuck to that game plan. Gragas, I like a lot, right? I think the Gragas is just very hard to deal with in top lane. I feel like there's not many counters to Gragas. However, Fiora might be able to do a shift because Fiora themselves is quite a strong champion. But Shen is going to be the lock-in, and we have actually got it. We've actually got Gwen jungle.
I think, yeah. I'm surprised I got that right.
Unless we have River Shen. River Shen, maybe?
I don't think we're going to make it that far in the flex department. Providing a new role would be... I'm sure NLC has opinions on that if we suddenly start bringing the River Shen to the table. What is Rich Gang? Okay.
All right. Okay. All right.
There's still the Annie in the support position. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, they're just trolling now. They're just trolling. Stop it, you guys. Stop it. All right. We're trying to predict the draft, and you're making it difficult because you're doing crazy stuff which would fit into your game. You know, this is your team's kind of thing.
So yeah, let's come back to this Fourth Wall thing because
let's talk about
it. What Ivan mid really wants is a jungler that can utilize the shield to its maximum potential. It heavily rewards you being in the melee range, and even more so if you can use the movement speed and the melee dash that the Q provides if Ivan hits it. Gwen does that perfectly. Even though she isn't the highest priority when it comes to the meta junglers, she's kind of like Sylas in a way, where she has the early kill years are a little bit painful, eventually gets into the game quite well. And this is almost perfect as a pairing for the Ivan. Rich Gang have a very long-range composition that has front line to provide additional safety for them. Gwen doesn't care.
She don't care. And we need to find out whether she will later on in the game. Let's get into this one. Game number 2, Rich Gang looking to solidify their lead, but can Fourth Wall bring it back? Are we going to be having a best of 3 after this game if it's 1-1? We'll find out shortly as Fourth Wall stepping onto the Rift. I wonder if we see that classic 5-man mid again.
Oh, no hook champion this time for Fourth Wall, so it would have to be Rich Gang to go for the old-fashioned play.
Toxic could do it.
Kinda. Flashing forward as an Ivan, though, is a risky proposition. You don't really care if it's the Hex Flash having support spends his early flash. But if it's your mid laner against an Annie Viego, I'd be a little bit more careful expending resources early on, especially when Fourth Wall are again looking to scale.
See if scaling wins the way, because I will say I've classically enjoyed scaling comps a lot, because I do think that if you do manage to just kind of survive and allow a lot of pressure to kind of just flow past you, then it's an easy win. However, Rich Gang very good at fighting. It's what we knew them for in the season. Very good at making it scrappy and picking up those early leads. So we'll see if that can happen once again. Junglers, though, going to be standing on either side of the map, though. Broder going to be pathing down bot, as we are going to see Deletus pathing up top. And also, I like the lore matchup of the Viego Gwenton.
The rare lore appreciator on the NLC broadcast. Doesn't come up too often, but you're correct.
Hey, it's a good matchup. It's like, if we're going to have a lore situation, Gwen Viego is an interesting one.
What is your like lore tier list? Do they have to be like actual enemies, or is Lucian Senna a good lore matchup?
I think, well, Lucian Senna not as going. I think that the ultimate lore matchup is Kha'Zix Rengar for sure.
Okay,
like nothing beats Kha'Zix Rengar.
I mean, they have the quest as well. Like it's literally in the game.
Yeah, it's just.
There's quite a few of those quests nowadays, isn't there?
Yeah, I believe there's Senna and Thresh, Rengar and Kha'Zix, Leona and Diana.
Real quick, top lane, all summoners expanded. Victor brought Ignite to the table, tried to get the solo kill on the Stumpy, but he managed to barely get away.
Does have TP though, so can join back, obviously down quite a bit of CS, but the wave is pushing, so should be all good. It's Ivan in that mid lane, yet to see too much. Junglers are pathing away from each other though, and I do wonder if that bot lane is going to get a bit of a gank there coming out from the side of Broder, but in that top side, a little bit of a tough time for Stumpy. But we also saw this last time, where Stumpy wasn't winning the lane from the start.
And Gregas isn't the lane bully that he used to be a while back, way back actually, now that I think about it. Has taken a ton of nerfs, but Stumpy still brought it out multiple times. But Victor with the Dorian's Blade start will hurt a ton, as we already saw, has kill pressure, having the Ignite already forcing teleport. Really good for the fourth top laner. But we still have the English is hard. Weird Ivern against the Annie, which we get to see play out as Stumpy.
Woo! So Victor, Victor's very happy that there wasn't an extra bit of damage there. That could have been an easy first blood. But as you said, the Ivan still playing his role in the mid lane. Does do quite a bit of damage. It's quite deceptive. But we haven't seen the lurk coming in from Deletus. No real participation from either jungler so far, as we are seeing Deletus hover on this top side. And obviously Stumpy has got the Shen pretty low, so Victor is vulnerable. So maybe this could pay off for Deletus. But so far, just watching the lane in status, not going to really find an opening, although Stumpy going to be able to give them one, stepping forward, body bops into the wall, not able to get away, doesn't have flash here, and Deletus trying to run them down. How long until the flash is available? It's not going to be needed though. Deletus stepping forward, will be taking one down, but can Broder trade this one back? Will it be the revenge? It is going to be so. The strings are cut, and they're going to be able to pick up a kill as in the mid lane. Fabio with the gank, taking the kill off of Toomey.
What's better than one support? Two! They managed to get the kill onto the Annie. Was a little bit overextended to get CC'd locked by the Ivern Q Maokai train. And 2 kills early on going over the fourth wall, even with the trade back. It was still the first blood for Deletus as Pipey gets hooked.
I mean, does get hurt. It's going to be quite a bit of damage from Fruity Fresh, but it's not going to be enough that you have to worry about dying from just yet. But it is going to make the lane a little bit less stable, a little bit more worrying. And with a big wave being pushed as well, this could definitely cause some major issues for fourth wall. As you said, they've managed to get those early kills, but in the last game, remember, they were leading in those very early stages.
And it's, again, 600 gold isn't much. Just equal when it comes to who is ahead. It's more what info they can get with this kill. And somehow Rich Gang, even though they lose out on the couple of kills, their mid laner just died, they still have the priority to go for the dragon through bot side, even with Sumi being without a flash and not really providing anything to the play. They still are able to heavily abuse the bot side of fourth wall.
Oh, and Broder adding to that as well, giving more space for plates. Fruity Fresh just building up that lead slowly but surely. As we go back to the top side. Now Civic to level 6, definitely one to watch out for though, because the Shen obviously can change a whole team fight.
And reminder, this is Victor's Shen. He is world famous for this pick. Some may even consider him a Formula 1 trick on the champion. And even though he hasn't pulled it out too many times in Division 2, every single time it has come out, he has performed very well.
You're seeing a bit of a change of hands this time, right? Fourth wall going for the grubs. This time, Rich Gang the one with the dragon. So a change of objective identity has occurred as we do see Broda making their way up to the grubs. We're not going to be able to contest Deletus. We'll just take that Scuttle Crab and potentially even look for a gank top. Yeah,
Toxie lost his flash while getting chased by Sumi and Broda. Was afraid that the Tibbers would heavily... This is going to be a bunch of damage, isn't it? But Toxie's so tanky.
So tanky. The shield just making it so difficult for Sumi to get off that damage. Doesn't have that extra cooldown to finish off the Ivan. But we'll be able to force them out of lane. We'll be able to put a bit of pressure on, and is building a little bit of CS lead as well.
Just a very, very awkward gank coming out from Rich Gang as they tried to punish Toxie in a similar way they did to Sumi. But Annie just doesn't have the DPS to take down the monstrous shield from Ivan's E, even empowered by the Aerie. And even in a matchup that isn't to Ivan favored, he's making it work, just surviving and providing additional utility for Deletus once he hits this level 6.
And right now, the relaxed Rift, I feel like it's working out pretty well for Fourth Wall. You know, we said they scale, they play up to the later stages. They're doing it right now. They've managed to get a couple kills, put a bit of pressure down. And all in all, I feel like they should be pretty happy with this earlier stage of the game as we see. Oh man, there's going to be so much trading in the top lane that it's just going to lead to nothing.
It did. And it's only going to be affected by Stumpy's mana pool. Victor will eventually have kill pressure. Stumpy can just kind of sit underneath the tower and press W a couple of times and he'll be back to trading potential with phase rush up, can body slam as well. So Victor will mostly be on the top side, just watching for any ultimates he can save people with. They have huge amounts of burst with Sumi and Broda eventually roaming around the map. And Pipey and Fabio already behind on the bot side matchup. Need to be careful of any tempo gained by Rich Gang here in this mid lane, as Greg already rotating over with the jungler.
And also just thought about this. We're getting to see Tibbers versus Daisy, and I kind of wish there was a moment where they could just fight each other. You know, I really want to see that. But at the moment, we are seeing another gang coming out from Deletus. Stumpy now in big trouble here. He's going to be able to cast Get Away Sir Victor for now, but Deletus on the chase. Going to be able to get a lot of damage off. One more dash should be able to do it. Snip, snip will cut the life off of the Gragas. And another kill going to be gifted over to the Gwen.
Yeah, traded over in the mid lane. They got the Broda Greg duo. Finally, Toxie loses his life in the mid lane. So, neither team gaining too much of an advantage, but the major thing, Deletus, again, skyrocketing upwards in gold gained, has the Nashor to already, will be able to provide a ton of DPS on this upcoming dragon. Sure, he burnt his ghost, he burnt his ultimate, but he should still be a major threat to the Tibberless, flashless Rich Gang, who only can look for an engage with Greg right now.
Now, Dragon, it's going to be spawning in 30 seconds, so when you talk about that engage, it could be pretty crucial, as we are going to see side of Fourth Wall making their way towards that Dragon. They have priority. They're already starting to set up for it, but is Pipey strong enough to assist in these team fights, or is the Deletus just going to be able to do too much for the side of Rich Gang? It looks like Rich Gang are still interested in playing for this Dragon.
Ritual of Toxie has been set up. Made of brushes, of course. Will deny as much vision as he can. Gives the team a nice little spot to play around, but they're having a bit of a difficult time reaching it as Pipey again pushed underneath the tower. Rich Gang collapsing from the bot side, entirely warded up by Fourth Wall. They need to regroup somehow, unite with Pipey, and while they look for it, Victor ready to ult.
We are going to be able to get that Shen if needed, but it doesn't look needed at all. And then they have brought them as well, and so Victor just joins the fight, and it's just so simple for Fourth Wall.
overextended, just a simple overextension from Greg and Fruity Fresh. They went forward before the rest of the team was ready, standing in full vision, hadn't swept brushes at all, and they instantly get punished. Shen ultimate just into the front line, catch out. Senna provides additional CC, sure. Stumpy gets 2 plates, but that, honestly, who cares about that when you get 2 kills and even more?
Oh, even more indeed. Asumi is being chased underneath the tower. There is going to be a bit of damage out from Daisy, but not enough to kill off Sumi. Just a bit of pressure thrown their way, and now potentially Grubs converted as well. They've managed to get the neutral objective of the Dragon, which will equalize with the early one from Rich Gang. An Infernal Drake spawning. We're going to get some fights around Dragons, Carvis.
Yep, that's one of the more powerful ones. It's still a bit of time to play for those Dragons, though, as the Grubs once again targeted by Rich Gang. They love to deny any of these from fourth wall, so they don't have the additional pushing power that they themselves had in the previous game. And it looks like they get all 3 of them. Fourth wall after that. Mid lane dive, had to get resets, didn't have time to come back from the recall and test the objective. Instead, they hit to their lanes, push out the waves, and look to fight another day. They need to get Pipey back into the game, at least onto 1 item before this Dragon is up.
Yeah, and I think there is a little bit of doubt in my mind coming in for Rich Gang at the moment, because it feels like Fourth Wall have all the control. They've managed to take all of the objectives that they wanted so far. And I'll be honest, Carvis, I don't really know how we're gonna see Rich Gang take apart Fourth Wall when they can just keep playing around that TP timer of Stumpy and making it 4 versus 5s.
It is going to be incredibly difficult. It's all up to positioning up on this top side. Stumpy needs to somehow win out on the 1v1 against the Heartsteel Shen, which already is very difficult. You can't really do damage with your W if Victor's ready with his own reaction check on the W parry. And Fourth Wall are utilizing this advantage to its fullest potential, trying to steal away as many can before the Dragon spawns.
They're starting to hinder Broda. They're causing issues in the bot lane, but maybe they're going to overstep here. Deleta's going to be caught out, and that's a lot of damage. Heartsteel already going to be utilized, and now Fabio, the next one in trouble. Heartbreaker once again going to come through. That's 2 quick kills given over to the Viego, and it might be more. Pipey going to have to flash away. Should just have got enough distance between them. They should be able to get straight back to this tower, but I talked about being a bit worried about Rich Gang. They've managed to find the fight.
Yeah. Can't really stand United as a team if the Shen is on cooldown. Not respecting the first potential that Rich Gang have. The leaders get caught by the Hex splashing Nautilus into a full burst combo from Sumi and Broda. And they could even look for more down on the spot side, just giving it a small jump scare with the Hex splash. Yeah, Rich Gang find exactly what they're looking for, as the leaders may have caught Broda.
Oh no, Rich Gang find what they're looking for, and then a little bit too much. Fourth Wall catch them out in their own jungle, and we'll be able to pick up another kill. Deleta's very, very strong at the moment, and the setup given by Fabio just makes it so hard to get away.
Again, in this meta that we have with Nautilus, Rel, all these utility support providing so much lockdown, even Maokai adding to the mix, you can get so much DPS on characters like Gwen when somebody is keeping them still. Viego not even able to ultimate, wasn't in time to get out of that situation. And he just melts, gives the shutdown right that he got from the Deletus kill on the bot side jungle. And with this priority now, with jungle dead, Football can just start up the Herald and eventually look to play with it afterwards.
And I will say both those notions really showed how squishy both teams can be. So there is a world where we could be expecting some flips of some team fights as Victor doesn't care about tower, just does not want to get frozen on, and will just force his hand and make Stumpy clear that wave. But the next dragon is going to be spawning in 50 seconds. We talked about it being Infernal Soul. This is one to definitely fight for, Carvis. And do you feel like both teams are ready for the challenge, or do you feel like maybe Fourth Wall will just take this free?
It's a little risky, let's say. Well, both teams are ready. Any fights from here on out can heavily snowball the game, and it's all about who, again, can find the pick, finds the initial chance to go in onto someone who is straggling a little bit behind. They can get popped by the Viego Annie combo. They can get popped by the leaders diving in with Victor's ultimate on his back. And it's something like this when Toxic can head in and slow Sumi down is exactly what they need. Here's the Timbers. Daisy fight you were so wanted.
Timbers Daisy is a fight for the ages. It is going to be both of them just dying though. The Solitas will join in. Although Daisy stays alive, but the Dragon positioning is going to be all Rich Gangs. However, we do have to remember Stand United is available and there might be a fight post the Dragon being taken. Fabio moving down with Pipey, and from the bot lane there is a pincer of Deletus and Toxie. Dragon taken out, but here's the fight. Stand United coming in onto Toxie, almost falling down, will finally fall, but Victor is now here, and it's going to be straight onto Broda. Broda will be snipped short, as now the rest of the team fight is going to collapse on them. A 4 versus 3, Deletus trying to flex their muscles, will be going onto the backline, and will execute another Sumi. Going to go down, it's all on Fruity Fresh, but they just dive straight into the backline. There is no way for them to gain any space, and once again fourth wall show how powerful they are.
Front wall, fourth wall against Rich Gang, constantly turning into a game of who blanks the best. Looks like Greg will eventually fall as they get something into the mix. Will in an additional assist. Will Fabio gets shielded, won't die this time around. But that fight, again, I told you this will be volatile. After Rich Gang finds the initial catch onto Toxie, he's kept alive for long enough that Victor's able to join the fight, and that is the key that turned it around. With Deletus and Victor, this power diving duo, they take out the entire front line. Even with Pipey getting caught out by the Gragas and Senna, they're able to bring the fight back just due to the fact that this Gwen refuses to die to anything but a catch. Senna doesn't have the DPS yet to fully fight back ghosted up Deletus. Didn't even have to actually use the ghost, was just straight up diving in with Victor's taunts keeping people in place. And with those kills coming in, they still have the Herald to play for. They might have lost the Dragon, but damn did they get a bunch of initiatives.
Yeah, the saving grace I do have for Rich Gang is that Deletus has most of the kills from the side of fourth wall, right? 8 of those 11 kills on their Gwen. And that does mean that there is a little bit of weakness in Pipey, right? I still think that Fruity Fresh is a little bit ahead. So maybe in that scaling aspect, they could potentially come back into it. But like we said, fourth wall, the ones that are scaling. They're a scaling comp, and they are doing pretty well. They're actually ahead 3K at 18 minutes, and it doesn't bode well if you are Rich Gang.
And some of the gold lead that they have can't even be seen on the stats. If we look at Shen, how much HP does he have? If we can get a quick pan up into the top lane, just click on Shen real quick. Oh, but 3.5k HP on the Shen, ahead in gold. What does this man not have?
Ugh, brother, ugh. Like, for real, that is a lot of HP. And look at the gold lead as well, right? Up almost 1.5k. We do see it in the jungle as well. 2k lead onto Deletus. And we have to think about this, right? Broda is also one of the richest members, no, the richest member on the side of Rich Gang.
And, well, the Viego has to be the one to carry these fights. Once you get the resets going, Viego turns into the monster. With Kraken Slayer, he can meld even the tankiest member as long as they're not standing in a Shen W. That could cause some issues eventually, but we just get to even see that. We haven't seen a straight-on 5-on-5 fight. It's always a small skirmish that starts anything out. And it's about time we see one starting to fall. Again, the Herald is still in the pockets of the leaders, ready to be spent. They go for the resets here. Looking for maybe the second item onto... Okay, Toxine doesn't even have the money for the second item. Instead, just replenishing the wards, replenishing some of the itemization, and then they look for a play towards this mid lane. Yep, the Herald. I was waiting for the time. I thought it was...
Herald spawned. Where will it crash? Though mid lane, obviously going to be the chosen destination. And we did see a pretty explosive play coming out from Rich Gang in the last game. Can fourth wall match that, as they do have a decent lead? Shelly should just be able to charge into this one. Going to be boosted up by Fabio as well, so no chance of divergence. And that will be the first tower taken down, easily claimed. But they're going to go for a second here, actually. Deletus taking this one for a real journey here, looking for a knock-up, not going to find it. And we'll just crash that one into the side.
Unsuccessful Tokyo Drift this time around as Rich Gang just get some souls for themselves off of the second charge going into the wall. Instead, fourth wall, take this time to set up vision around this ever so familiar entry point into the river, trying to gain mid lane priority. They have everyone to play with. It's just up to Victor to find the timing for the ultimate from here on out. Needs to play outside of barrel range of Stumpy.
Yeah, and Stumpy does have TP as well, so could match. He's going to go first, actually. Will join the fight prior to Sir Victor, but obviously Stand United still very much active and available. Toxic, also one that you've got to watch out for. We are going to see Nature's Grass, though, to hold back a little bit as we're seeing Broda try and get into this fight, but now being caught out here. Pipey doing quite a bit of damage and forcing the Heartbreaker out is massive. So Victor now already in this fight, able to join in as they charge into the backline, but Broda is still lurking, still looking for an opening, but it's not going to find him because the rest of the team is falling down, and fourth wall so simply demolish Rich Gang.
The Annie missed her tips. That's a huge cooldown that went right into the void. Completely missed Pipey. And had no follow-up either, even if it had landed. So this fight was just... It was just fourth wall positioning, let's be real. They found out where Diego was early on and chased him down, finally even getting the kill after all of that chasing around. And with the delayed death onto the jungler of Rich Gang, they can go and start at the Baron easy.
Baron will be theirs, it should be easily secured, and to be honest, guys, it almost feels like the game, because I don't really see a world where Rich Gang can come back into that, right? They're so far behind in gold now, and the scaling team of fourth wall is just getting stronger and stronger and stronger. I don't see Rich Gang making a claim back into this game.
And the scary thing is, fourth wall have kind of done this without Pike. He will shut down this entire game. It has just been scaling up and farming up as much as they can, only now reaching second item, and in the previous fight, he didn't really do much else than just DPS Broda down after he got caught. Rest, Deletus, and Victor are being such monsters in the front line that the AD carry position in this game is just kind of unneeded for fourth wall. They're that far ahead, even while the goal just doesn't even feel like they're this far.
I mean, it'll be psychic, but I feel like we might be getting some Shen bans.
That or you don't blind pick something. Prey to the Shen. However, speaking of falling prey to something, it's a big shutdown of the Deletus.
Absolutely massive. Broda picking up that kill, and now starting to play with Toxie here. Could try and look for this kill as well. Does have a decent bit of damage, but Toxie just too difficult to take down. So much healing, so much shielding, and the Ivan can just walk away.
There's also the Stand United from Sir Victor, ready to use if they ever feel like Toxie is actually in trouble. And while he does not have the demolish, he has the 3 void grubs to start smacking this tower down a bit, and the game has been paused, so, well, most likely head over to the casters for the moment.
Yeah, you're back with us, as it's time for our podcast. You know, it's the NLC Div 2 podcast. We've had a little bit of a game today. The technical reports will come through. I feel like both teams have had their moment in the sun so far, right? Both have had the sunshine on their backs. This game, though, does feel very fourth wall sided. Yes, that 1,000 goal shutdown, maybe, just maybe, could give a little bit of life back into the side of Rich Gang. But I do think Carver's overall fourth wall have looked really impressive. And as you said, they haven't even got Pipey involved yet.
It is looking very rough for Rich Gang. I feel like they have damage, they're lacking non-auto attack based damage. They don't have that, let's say, Hui, for example. They don't have the Victors and all those consistent AP damage. They have the Annie, who does provide a ton of CC and burst damage, but that is not enough to take down a Gwen and Shen, who are looking to dive your backline and take down anything that moves.
Yeah, so far it's been a full man in a bush. That has been the best way to take out Gwen. And to be honest, that's not going to be consistent, right? We're not going to be able to see that when dragons are spawning, when the objectives are up, when they're trying to siege on the towers. So Fourth wall at the moment must feel pretty comfortable. If you're Rich Gang, you've got to show that you can stand toe for toe. And obviously, when you're this far behind in gold, that is a very, very difficult prospect indeed. So I do wonder, is there a little bit of hope looming on that center? Obviously, 82% win rate has to be quite a strong champion, but only if you can get online and do the damage in the team fights.
Yeah, and it's going to be a very difficult proposition for Fruity to be able to do any damage in this team fights because, well, Senna's the type of carry who wants to hit the front line first. You don't really have backline access, say, for example, Kai'Sa does. You just need to land one Void Seek and you dive into the backline. Whoops, your AD carry is dead. Well, I did so well. Senna has to hit the front line. Senna, and once Senna is hitting the front line, Shen's going to press W. Gwen's going to press W. What are you going to do now? Well, we're going to see.
We're going to find out.
Because I think it's going to be a very, very difficult game for Fruity to play. And even if he manages to hit Deletus and Victor, you have to get through Toxic Shields first.
Yeah, no, the Ivan, definitely a strong pick. I said you can't play without the Rengar. Apparently you can. Apparently Ivan mid is actually very, very strong at the moment, especially when paired with such a devastating jungler like the Gwen. So, with that being said, Rich Gang still just trying to defend out their base. They still have all tier 2 towers, and to be honest, they've only lost 2 tier 1s. So structurally, they are pretty sound, but obviously the time is ticking. We're getting to those later stages. Fourth are getting more and more dangerous. However, I do think there is still an aspect of the fact that Senna does scale infinitely that could give them an opening.
Of course, when you have a champion, you always have an opening. Just like they have an opening to take down Victor. Whoa, what a flash!
Ooh, that is a lot of damage, and that's going to be a kill gifted over to the side of Fruity Fresh. A lot of damage dished out. I will say so Victor surviving for quite a while, though, even though Sumi was pumping Incinerates left and right.
They find a nice pick. Separated from the rest of his team again, while the Shen gonna stand unite to others. Just the fourth wall, not so good on the rotation aspect. Would love to play grouped up instead. And these are the type of picks that Rich Gang needs to find if they want to make it back into the game. Now they can steal away the bot side jungle as fourth wall fears to fight without their 2 frontliners.
And I will say, moments like that, actually, you know what? Maybe I'm on opium here, but like those kind of moments make me think actually Rich Gang aren't as far away as I once thought. Right? When we've seen the 5v5s, it's felt very fourth wall dominated. As you said earlier, though, positioning could be a massive factor to that. And when we see the catch out like that from Rich Gang, it really could be anyone's game.
Nobody has secured a win yet. The Nexus hasn't exploded. However, the Dragon may explode in a minute also. As again, fourth wall has been very consistent on the setup, playing around this particular topside river entrance. Top bot side. I think that's a word. Let's go with that. And this time, Rich Gang are confident enough to approach. They're even going to find Deletus and see that he has a spell shield they have to.
It's
dealt with.
It's easy. Stumpy's found it. And that's going to be a quick removal. However, Fabio in the backline is going to cause major problems. Bruder is able to get a lot of damage, but has to jump out, and they will be able to take down the support. Slowly but surely, they find that kill, but Deletus is now starting to pick up Sumi, forcing once again Rich Gang to back out. So 4 versus 4. However, fourth wall definitely in the driver's seat.
A lot of cooldowns burn, so Deletus doesn't have the Ghost and Ultimate for the next fight, even though it's a very low cooldown, almost level 16, so we'll have that for any future engagement. Still too healthy though. Rich Gang also burns pretty much everything, and they have to give the Dragon over. Next one will be Soul for fourth wall as they look to even the score up. But Rich Gang, again, something that they do really well in this later stage of the game is manage these waves. Broda already there to shove this all the way in, force someone from fourth wall to respond. And with Ivan mid in these later stages of the game, picking up the World Atlas support item to get some extra income while not having to farm, they're missing a bit of wave play.
Oh, I said 4 members in the bush. That's how you kill Deletus. They found him again, and this could be a quick kill. Can they find the damage? They are staying alive for a bit longer than wanted, but they will finally drop down, and that is a massive picture, Rich Gang, and maybe they can turn it into tier 2 mid as well. It is exposed, it's open, and Rich Gang have the power.
They had the power even through the Gwen W. took a lot of damage, but still able to burn the leaders down eventually. They may have a flank though. Victor's looking.
TP is available for Stumpy if they do commit to this, but fourth wall just going to cause the pressure, just going to force them away. However, Baron is on the cards, and it looks like Rich Gang are willing to risk it.
They kind of have to at this point. They are so far behind. Got the Stumpy teleporting in. The Honest Wanderer's one against Victor, not the fight that he wants to take instead. Look for the barrel. And never mind, doesn't even have the barrel just yet. They have to buy some time.
Right now, so Victor trying to get the team able to get in, but Greg holding the line, holding the back line off, and they take the Baron. Now, so Victor a little bit caught out here. It's going to be rooted up and taken down, and fourth wall are starting to look shaky. Carvers, they're missing members, they're getting picked off, and they're losing objectives.
What was the plan there? They didn't have deleters. I thought they were looking for some sort of fight to push Rich Gang off of the Baron. It feels like both will weren't on the same page when it comes to that play, and Victor gets left completely by himself inside the pit, just DPS down by the rest of Rich Gang.
Oh no!
Now,
oh no! Oh no!
They did it to fourth wall. Time for them to look for the engage instead.
Rich Gang need to try and get away. It's a scary proposition, but they are going to be able to make it out alive for now, and actually maybe do more as a hook does land. But I don't know if you want to fight this if you're Rich Gang. You want to make sure that you're grouped up. You need to try and find a pick, because the 5v5 is still very dangerous from fourth wall.
It is. And the lead is again with the spell shield. He is able to posture quite aggressively to force Rich Gang to play careful. Every single overextension could mean the end of the game here if it's a full 5 team life. But with the Baron, Rich Gang quite strong on the scene.
And no TP, remember, no TP on Stumpy. So Victor does have Stand United. So massive discrepancy in terms of rotation for the 5 versus 5. It's one that they got to watch out for. So Victor doing so much damage. Oh, Stumpy, you got to watch out.
I don't think that's a fight Stumpy wants to take. Again, no teleport. So now Rich Gang, if they look for this play, they're going to be 4 or 5.
They are going to be able to take the tier 2. They start to back away. Civicta still holding on. Stumpy playing it smart though, not allowing Civicta out of sight. And now they're playing to the Shen. This is the textbook strategy. If you can't take the fight with Shen with the TP advantage, you take the fight to Shen. He can't TP to himself.
Such a... honestly, my heart jumped when I saw Gregory going in. If fourth wall had correct positioning there, they could have tried and turned that one around with the Stand United if Victor played back enough not to get interrupted by Stumpy. It's the flash though and the barrel, so he can go quite far. It's a perilous game that both teams are playing on this defensive it's a standoff, really. Rich Gang aren't yet at a stage where they can efficiently crack the base.
And the stakes keep getting higher, Corvus, because now it is time to play the Dragon Soul fight. This could be the Infernal Soul for the side of fourth wall. Another massive moment in the series that could give a massive lead as Deletus getting stepped forward a little bit too close and now getting stuck for living for a long time. Not going to fall down just yet and actually takes down Sumi, but it's the rest of the team fight available for them. And so Victor going to finally fall. Deletus, the big hope for the side of fourth wall, having to run away. Broda also jumping out of the fight, doesn't want to overextend, and Lolita still having to play this smart, cannot just dive in. It is a very risky moment. And fourth wall, 3 members, but might be able to make it a 3 versus 3. Greg going very low. The stun lands onto Deletus, and there's the hook, and they come back in. They killed the Gwen, and now they can move forward. Pipey on the run, but here comes Ruda looking for another kill. Do they have the damage? One more will land, another heartbreaker, and it could be fourth wall's heart that breaks, and Ace will survive. The dragon will be secured, and Rich Gang keep looking stronger.
Another very awkward start to the fight with Sumi flashing into the Gwen W to stun up the lead. Loses his life for it, but the fight already going the way of Rich Gang. It's a 2-for-2 trade, a 2-for-1 trade until what looks like Gregory getting caught eventually turns into a body slam combo right onto Pipey, extending the hitbox through his support. They get enough damage onto him, so Broda's able to come back and go for the reset. And all of a sudden, if we were able to look at the fight, the AD carries are starting to come in. Pipey's dealing a ton of damage to their frontliners that, to be honest, Rich Gang may have not expected the damage to come out on the FLEOs on the third item now. Same thing for Rich Gang though. Fruity constantly blasting from the back line, dealing so much damage with the crits, and has 98 souls. Sure, it's not support Senna levels of stacks here in 34 minutes in the game, but the range considerably painful.
Yeah, 4 items secured as well. The Senate is really starting to hit pretty hard. Fruity Fresh was able to kite around and do quite a bit of damage to Deletus. And the question is, can they get Deletus into position right? That's the question for Fourth Wall, because in the last 2 fights, they've not been able to do it. Deletus hasn't been able to do efficient damage, but I think part of that is because Fourth Wall just aren't in the right positioning. We talked about it early on, about how they positioned fights better than Rich Gang, but when we look at these later stages, it's all Rich Gang that are leading the charge.
And they just need to keep it up. They managed to secure themselves the lead in the game with 5k approximately being the goal lead. The leaders can't go for this though. They don't have vision of the rest of the team. They don't know if Stub is being shadowed by, for example, Broda. If he were to commit alone, he would be in big trouble. But now, he's biding his time. Baron's up in 5 seconds, and that is the objective they most likely are going to test.
I don't know if I like this play call though, because we've seen how quickly Deletus can get poked by the side of Rich Gang, and Deletus is just, what are they waiting for?
The wave to go past, they don't want to give the info, but the Baron's already dead!
The Baron is already gone, Deletus coming in, but it's so late. Does use the ultimate, but again, it's right now a 5 versus 1. Yes, does have the stand united, will be able to stay alive a little bit longer, and actually managed to pick up a kill. Okay, I was all wrong. Deletus, they made the right play.
Yeah, it was the correct play. It was just unfortunate timing for the medieval game. If they find out that Deletus is in that rush, they can instantly turn around. The rest of Fourth Wall isn't there, and they're not gonna win a 2-on-5, even as strong as Deletus and Victor are. That's just impossible. They get a kill though. Pyrrhic victory, but they get Broda!
Broda's gonna be caught out here. However, surviving it around, Deletus goes down, and now it's all Fourth Wall on the back foot. They're running for the hills because Rich Gang somehow managed to survive, and they thrive as they kill the last couple members. The base commerce is theirs, and it looks like game 2 as well.
How is Broda alive after that? That is disgusting. With their Sterex gauge and wits and providing just enough resistances, they blew everything on the Broda, and Rich Gang was there to respond. Sumi gets a pull on Tibbers. Now it's just Victor left to defend, and it looks like what looked a completely one game from Fourth Wall. It goes out of their hands, and Rich Gang...
All the health, all the leads, all the items, it means nothing if you do not finish off the game. 50 gold to Rich Gang, another point in the series. 2-0 match point for them in game 3. And Carvis, I don't know what to say. There were moments in that game where it just felt like Fourth Wall could not lose, but Rich Gang make it happen.
This is I don't even know how to describe it. It's a nightmare for Fourth. Being that far ahead, what felt like Deletus and Victor just running the show for the entire game, just moment by moment slipping out of the hands due to unfortunate mistakes that every now and then happen to everyone. But it just happened to happen multiple times in a row. The lead just slipped out of their hands, and Rich Gang capitalized perfectly.
Brick by brick, piece by piece, Rich Gang broke down Fourth Wall, but can they rebuild for game number 3? It's the big question on the table. We're going to throw to a break. 2-0 Rich Gang, potentially going to make it 3-0. questions need to be answered. Game 3 coming up next. Rich Gang versus Fourth Wall. Potentially the final game of the series if Fourth Wall cannot seem to get it together. I said they tasted defeat in Game 1. Now they've had it twice. Carvis, it's a tough one to break down, right? Very far ahead. Mistakes were made. Lost the tempo. Lost the lead. Really well played from Rich Gang in their macro. What's the next step?
I think this is where you go for the Hail Mary. Either you leave a mage open than a problematic champion. For example, the Senna hasn't really been letting Pipey play, especially in the early game. He always activates later into the game, but by that point, something has already happened. So give more initiative to the bot side of the map by getting rid of the Senna, maybe leave something like a Hui open that can be dealt with. The other one is cook even more. The Iron mid wasn't enough. Do something that they feel comfortable in. It's time to play all out. Do or die, or you go to lose.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping that we maybe see a swap of sides. I think obviously we talked about it a little bit in the green room. I do think there is an aspect that isn't great for the side swapping because obviously, as you said, the top lane could be a little bit more detrimental. But there's also the aspect for me where it's like you could pick up the Senna. You would maybe have a little bit more room on your bans, which you could take away. So I don't know. There's part of me that just feels like something big has to happen for Fourth Wall.
Yeah, and again, they played very confidently in the early stages of the game. They got a huge lead. Leaders and Victor both played their roles quite well. It just feels like the final closing out impact just wasn't there. Even though they kept playing fights even though they kept finding picks occasionally, they never got the major advantage play needed, whether that be a Baron or a huge catch on where they get the push from. It never happened. Something that can easily find that is the way to go for Fourth Wall.
Well, hopefully we're going to be getting into the draft pretty soon because Carvis, I feel like from Game 1, right, it felt like Rich Gang were good, but Fourth Wall were contesting. Game 2, it was like, okay, Fourth Wall really coming back. They're making plays. And then it didn't end well, which is why I'm now just a little bit worried because it's like, okay, well, we've seen that you can win early. We've seen that you can do really well in the mid game. But how do you close out the game? Let's get into draft, though. Let's see if we do see any big changes to see if they can maybe switch it up before the game even begins. And we are going to see, once again, Rich Gang on that blue side.
And expecting no changes to Rich Gang. Fourth Wall is the one we are interested in. In case the bans don't change, I personally would love to see increased priority on the Nautilus. I think that is something that would heavily benefit their team fighting and the ease of play for their composition. And not even worried about the Ivan that will seem to be causing some issues. They instead just ban out the Ari, don't want to deal with the easily blind pickable mid laner, and no mage bans either. Senna on the wall. How are you going to look on the bot side?
Oh,
I couldn't
who
make
could have
that
seen
rhyme.
this coming? Who could have seen this coming? It's yeah, it's the same as always before. Now this is where the switch ups start to begin. Jinx being picked up, we saw that in Game 1. Did look kind of nice, although I think the Aphelios potentially could look better if we get it underway. But all in all, they're just going to keep flicking through champions. They're not going to let me know which one they're locking in just yet. But Zeri, you happy about it?
Yes, very. Zeri, well, on the current patch, we're on 14.6. 14.6, 14.5. I think we're 14.5. I'm not 100% sure.
Wait.
Anyway, Zeri is a very strong champion, and I think a little bit underutilized in our NLC Division 2. They also lock in the Nautilus, who I already mentioned previously in the draft. It looks like we have a small problem on our overlay as well. We are not on 14.1b. We are on 14.5, I think. So
we're really keeping it in the past, you know. We don't like change in the NLC.
We definitely don't as Viego gets locked in. And Rel, as the response, we have the two most played engage supports. No real surprise there. You see this trait constantly in games in pretty much all regions.
Yeah, it's probably going to see the Brom again, though. I do think the Brom was really, really nice when they did play that one against the Nautilus. But Rel obviously does manage to make things work as well. Zeri can be a little bit notorious, can definitely be dangerous themselves. But a big question for me is like, are you going to play to the bot side? I think the Ivan being picked up does aid to that because you don't have to play too much around mid. But so far, we haven't seen Fourth Wall really dominate on that bot.
Zeri Nautilus gives them a lot more opportunity to play with, especially when you get that level 6 huge power spike for the Nautilus Zeri. They can pop Senna if she ever gets caught. And taking away the Nautilus also makes it so that Zeri doesn't really have to worry about any incoming point and click CC. As long as you position well on Pipey's side, you can kite to infinity and beyond. Something like a Maokai we could see coming out of the top place. Stumpy has played that before. That would provide a Twisted Advance and the ultimate that Zeri hates to play against. But they are more worried about Sumi's champion pool, both of the engaged mid laners taken off the table.
And it's interesting how it shifted throughout the series, right? We saw Yone and Aurelia banned in game 1. Now we're seeing the Nico and the Annie. The Nico obviously makes perfect sense. The double jungler ban, though, from Rich Gang, I like it a lot. They're now forcing Fourth Wall into something that isn't necessarily as carry-orientated, right? The Xin Xiao, definitely good in the early game, but not going to be necessarily the 1 versus 9 that we did see potentially or very closely almost happen for the Gwen. But this does aid in the way that I want to see Fourth Wall played, given the fact that they picked the Zeri.
And the Xinja also doesn't remove the chance for the Shen combo to be played again if Rich Gang opts to play something like the Gragas. You can't pick that. I know you want to. You cannot.
You're not allowed. You're not allowed.
If it hovers,
Neither of those are
Anivia.
pickable.
The Anivia has. Whoa.
Hold on.
What?
They actually picked Anivia.
Sumi plays that? Okay, well, live caster reaction. New pick coming out from Sumi. I don't think he has played it earlier in the season, and this is a huge pick away from Fourth Wall as well, in case they want to cook around with those. And okay, Stumpy wants to run back the matchup, daring Fourth Wall pick the Shen again, and coming at you with.
I don't know if I like the Shen pick. I'll be honest. I don't want the Shen pick. I know Savita's really good on it, but I just feel like right now if they pick Shen, they're everything is on Pipey, right? It's like if we get this Zeri going, we can win the game. But I don't love that into Senna and Nivea Viego. Like that's just too much damage.
Instead, looks like we have the Ornn. Standard tank top laner provides some much needed engage follow up to the Nautilus, and a secondary engage if the Nautilus doesn't have his ultimate up. Does quite well into the Gragas as well. I'm just slightly worried about the lack of damage on Fourth Wall.
Yeah. Especially scaling as well. Because like we've talked often about how Fourth Wall picked the scaling comp. Rich Gang have matched them in that now. Because Anivia and Senna both going to be scaling very heavily. It's also going to cause big problems for wave pushing as well because of the fact that Anivia is so good at just denying waves. And the big question I have now, Carvis, is, well, if the game does go late, are Rich Gang not the ones that are favored? And also, second to that, Rich Gang can just chill out and play safe, whereas it does feel like Fourth Wall are now finally the ones that have to step on the gas.
I think while you are correct in that Fourth Wall can step on the gas, we could also see a battle of the scaling and a very quiet game at that. Because you have the ornaments, you have the Ivan, and you have a Zeri. A well-played Zeri can absolutely 1 versus 9 a game. You don't have any point-and-click CC other than a Gragas flash body slam that can be interrupted, of course, by the rest of Fourth Wall on a well-positioned team fight. So if Pipey plays super well, he's going to take over team fights. So that might be the angle that they go for, and we see no action for the early stages of the game.
Well, let's go. No action. Definitely not the game that I want to see, but let's send it either way. Game number 3. Will this be the finale? Oh, we're gonna have a bit more time. We're not actually into the game just yet. It's back to us. We baited you. You know, we knew that was going to happen because we're the ones that pressed the button. Okay,
absolutely.
And we're not going to press it just yet because we got a few more things to say. Yeah, what are the power moments, right, for the Zeri, right? Well, it's been a little while for me seeing the Zeri, I will be honest. Are we expecting that kind of 3 items still going to be the classic?
It's okay. If I had to, of course, the game very much lives in its own state of being. If you get ahead, it will be a bit different. But for the 2-on-2, Zeri Nautilus heavily spikes at level 6. They're gonna be able to burst people down. They're gonna be ahead a little bit there. But in the mid stage, when Zeri doesn't have items, she can be a little weak and fall prey to the Viego just running at her. But after the 3rd item mark, she turns into a complete monster that you are going to play around with the Ivern.
All right, we're pressing the button into game. Let's go. This time, we're hopefully not messing around. We are actually sending it as we do get into game. And now, back on the Hook Champion. Do we get 5 members mid? Let's see.
Well, it's in the hands of 4th Wall again. I'm expecting Sumi not to fall prey to the same play this time around, considering you're on Anivia. You don't go there, Sumi. This is so scary. Well, 4th Wall didn't go for the play. If they had, they could have burned the Anivia's flash. But against an Ivern, I don't think Sumi feels the threat.
And I'm quite interested that we have this switch up. Like, Anivia, I feel like just... when was the last Anivia in, like, any game? I feel like I haven't seen or casted Anivia in a very, very long time. I feel like Froggen is, like, the known Anivia player. And he hasn't played in ages.
The funny thing is, the only other player that has picked Anivia in NLC Division 2 is Toxi. Out of all people. So this is just the egg layers facing off. Let's see whose Anivia is better. Toxi should know the matchup quite well, considering the situation. But once level 6 has been hit, this Ivern won't have a fun time.
Yeah, indeed. As we see early levels, going to be a bit of pressure here. Nice block there from Greg. As Fabius does manage to land that hook. And Pretty Fresh, not scared of trading in the early. Very much down to scrap with anyone. And we'll be just trying to stack those up. And we've seen quite a lot of pressure come out from the side of the Rich Gang's bot lane. So I do wonder if this game we can actually see a little bit more coming from Deletus to assist the ADC.
And they may not even need to assist early on, because Zeri is one of the few AD carries that can actually match Senna in the range department. The early trades might still be rough, but she can last it quite safely as long as Greg doesn't land stuff.
Senna just able to get so much poke out there with that level 2, just going to be able to pressure off Hype. Asumi once again just farming in. I do believe, Carvis, you're right. I think we might be getting quite a quiet game until the later stages. How important for that is Dragon going to be then?
It's up to the teams themselves. Stumpy,
Stumpy, you might be dead. Oh no.
Close.
Body slam going to be able to save.
This is the early power of its HP damage coming out from Ornn. Never underestimate the Warlock, Assassin, Rogue. I don't even remember the full list anymore.
Yeah, Warrior, Tank,
should...
Paladin.
Is he dual wielding hammers? Does he have anything in his other hand? I don't even know. That hook lands off.
I think he just has the one hammer, but yeah, it's a very chilled out bot lane. I feel like no one's going down soon.
No, definitely not. Just a small damage check. How much does this hook do? Get some space. Broda, however, if he hadn't thrown out that E, Fabio could have walked right into it. Small tempo advantage to Rich Gang's jungler, able to get onto the scuttle earlier than Delete.
And that does mean the Skull Crab will be secured by the Viego. I wonder if they managed to get both Skull Crabs though, because obviously on the top side it is being won by Sir Victor. Something going to be forced back, but it looks like Broda is quite content by moving forwards as we see Deletus starting to set up in that bot side, but the bot lane for Rich Gang is not there.
And mid lane as well. Something about Anivia in good matchups. You don't see Anivia often push early on. But she can. With the double Q hit onto the caster minions, you can quite easily take out Wave pretty fast if you're not contested by the opponent's mid laner. So they get the double scuttle and they get priority in mid for the near future, as Deletus can't really find a gank on the bot side, just goes down the good 8 CS or so.
So Victor now still just keeping it consistent in lane. Stumpy, however, has started to weather a little bit of that storm. So we are going to start to see objectives spawning. Dragon to be in 25, and we will be getting those grubs at the same time.
And this is where the earlier question that you asked comes up. Which team is going to prefer to take the dragons, and which team is going to take the grubs? It could come up to whoever's on the side of the map at first. It could come up to who has prior on what lane at the time. But I'm expecting Rich Gang to go for the dragons, as they feel stronger here in this early game. The Ivan hasn't been able to recall yet, and soon he's perfectly happy just playing until the level 6 has been hit. While fourth wall, Deletus can look for aggressive plays, the Zeri and Nautilus aren't really able to respond to Pat. Broda could be caught out.
Broda could be caught out here, but able just to keep himself safe, although the ball lane is starting to roam up. But Fabio missing the hook, gonna have to flash away and will be pulled back, and that's a lot of damage coming out from Rich Gang. Fabio gonna be taken down. Broda with that kill, although it actually went to Greg. And a nice play from Rich Gang, putting them on the board and securing the first dragon.
Daisy smells a bird, wants to add some ingredients to the cake. I don't think that would work out.
Annoying for Sumi, to be honest, actually. Like, stops the ultimate as well, just like denying the potential for Glacial Storm. So maybe what to watch out for in those later fights.
It's until Anivia herself hits 6. Daisy will be able to easily reach Sumi. Oh, has to flash. Yeah. Never mind.
Flash. Wait, so Victor has flashed, has used the ult, gets belly slammed. There's the damage, but is it enough? The breath not going to connect. Flash is going to be utilized, and both top laners walking away limping. But only one of them will be able to stay in lane. So Victor still just about holding on to that slight lane advantage.
Play-by-play jump scare. Here's an Orin ultimate for you. Is actually very impactful. Speaking of the priority, now Victor has it on the top side of the map, and they can rotate over to catch Sumi.
Sumi is in trouble, does still have rebirth though, so we'll have egg. But doesn't need it just yet, able to stay alive. A little bit of damage is done though, over half HP, and now we can see an opening for the side of Deletus to just make their way across. Although hold on, because Toxie is taking so much damage, they're gonna have to flash away, followed by one more auto, all needed, not gonna land from Sumi, but this should force off Deletus from the grubs, and we might be seeing our first dragon and triple grub take in the series.
Foxy cannot participate in this upcoming fight. No Daisy, no HP to work with, so Deletus again has to give over the objective. And while it has been a quiet early game, another small mistake snowballing this objective game quite heavily in the favor of Rich Gang. The one to catch onto Fabio down on this bot side completely lost the dragon for fourth wall. And from there on out, Rich Gang and Broda have been controlling the tempo on the map. Sure, Victor had a nice attempt on the solo kill, playing with well against the Ragas, but it doesn't have enough impact when your mid lane is constantly being pushed in.
Yeah, and Sumi, as she said, has now got that level 7. He's dealing with Daisy a lot better than before. And there's not really much Toxic can do in this lane. They're just watching the Anivia farm, and it's kind of what I was talking about a little bit earlier, Carvis, right? Of when do fourth wall start to pick up the pace and win?
I think the timing window is already kind of gone. With Fabio being roaming the map so much, he's still level 4, while Pikey has hit his power spike of the level 6. So with this support being this far behind, they can't really go for any aggressive plays on the bot side without having the assistance of either Deletus or Toxie. Similar situation, mid lane, where Toxie cannot rotate over because he's constantly being shoved in and can't take a fight against their Anivia. The Daisy will just be stuck in mud while standing in the Glacial Storm.
It does feel like, to Victor, the only hope, and unfortunately on Ornn, which although, yes, we meme about being a little bit of everything, is not the notorious 1v9 carry.
Not really. No. I'm again with the staggered objective takes. There's still hope for fourth wall though. Once the dragon comes up in a minute or so, they can look to make the same play that they earlier lost Fabio in. Rotate everyone when Rich Gang is taking vision and hope to sandwich them with a Xin Zhao Ivern flank and a Zeri Nautilus flank, and then play towards wherever Pipey wants to go. Easier said than done though, because securing priority is quite hard.
Oh, half HP already, Fabio. You gotta be careful, man. The Cryo Phoenix, it does burn as hot as the fire. And we are seeing a bit of play onto Sumi though. Delita's going to try and make their presence known. However, Rebirth still available, so not going to be able to dive. Delitas will be able to crack the egg, but not going to be able to scramble it as now Broda going to step forward, looking for Toxie. Doesn't land the stun though. There will be safety for the island.
And huge deal.
Wait, hold on. They're not done yet. Delita's going in aggressively, but it's going to be all the side of Rich Gang. And once again, they're making early plays. They're making big moments occur. And Rich Gang take a double kill from the mid-jungle, securing the dragon as well, Carvis. It is going downhill quickly for fourth wall, and it might be even getting worse. Fabio's now getting knocked up. He's going to be able to get onto the center, though, and Fruity Fresh taking a lot of damage here. Doesn't even trade one for one. Pipey, the hero of fourth wall in this game, is now online with the first kill.
They finally find the angle. Hukun doesn't find its target, only getting the one, but that is a huge relief for fourth wall, who seem to be struggling to find an angle for these aggressive plays that are going to be needed to keep them in the game. Already the gold is starting to skyrocket ahead, but Pipey, the key member, finishes his static ship early on, right as the dragon had spawned. Now it's all up to fourth wall. Can they find a moment to set up vision and play for that dragon angle?
A little bit of a safety net has been thrown there. So the fact that Pipey did manage to get that kill. However, Dragon is still on the board, as noted, and so are the Grubs. So interesting to see how the objectives are going to be played for. It is going to be fourth wall going second to this Dragon as they are forced away, but maybe they're going to be able to get the Grubs this time.
The lead is going to be spotted out on this board, so they know what Xin Zhao is doing. And with most of the cooldowns burned on the side of fourth wall, on the bot side of the map, Rudy is perfectly happy to lane alone against these two, have the Rel rotate over and try and stop this objective take. I think they know that Deletus is on the Gromp.
Oh, Deletus, no. We are seeing Sir Victor start to move, but it's so many members coming in from Rich Gang. Deletus doesn't have flash either. It's a sad death, man. It's a sad death. Yes, we'll buy a bit of time, but he knows it as well. There is no rebuttal. We're now in the bot lane as well. The TP coming in from the Tsumi, looking for Fabiox here. The stun will land. The Nautilus will be removed from the game slowly but surely. And Pipey trying to stay alive, trying to dish back something, just has to run for their life.
And this is just, I wouldn't go that far, but it is looking painful for fourth wall. This is exactly how they didn't want this early game to go. They wanted to play to the strengths of the Zeri, who can be the hyper carry to 1 versus 5 entire team fight if fourth wall plays around it well enough. Instead, they've lost their jungler twice, behind almost 40 CS. They've lost their mid lane. They've lost the Nautilus twice, and it's starting to come to the point where they need to overload a lane to look for picks in similar style that Rich Gang did in game 2.
And they could get ornaments later. They could get a decent amount of gold from that alone and power, but again, I gotta go back to it. Sumi is playing Anivia. This pick scales so incredibly well, and so does Free Fresh on the center, which at the start of this series had an 82% win rate, which has now gone up. I don't know what the number is, but it's higher than 82, which is pretty ridiculous.
It is incredible how good this champion has been in Division 2. And you can see why. It's just providing so much pressure down on the bot lane, and it scales up decently well as the game goes on. It's just I don't really know how Fourth Wall can find an angle to shut Pretty Fresh down when his first item is an Edge of Knife.
Yeah. Which is not what I was expecting. I'll be honest. Is that unusual? I feel like
It is unusual. Normally you'd go for something a bit cheaper. It is an expensive item. It provides health. Usually get it like third or fourth. But when you consider the engage options that Fourth Wall have, without the Orn, it's not easy to proc it.
Okay, well, we'll see. It definitely could be a lifesaver in those later stages, as we are going to see another neutral objective taken up by Rich Gang. That will be Herald. I'm sure they'll be looking very closely towards that next dragon as well. So, with that being said, Pipey, still the one that I have my eyes on for potentially carrying Fourth Wall through it, but we just haven't seen enough of Deletus in the bot lane. Now they are there, but is it a bit too late, Carvis? We're going to see pressure around this tower, and Greg has decided to stay. Although will be hooked straight back in. Dortmund potentially leaving, but Pretty Fresh getting quite a bit of damage down. Shadows is going to be utilised, and Deletus going straight onto the ADC, but here comes the TP. Something joining in the fight. Pipey, the one that you got to watch out for. Damage is being dealt. Is there enough there? Will be able to pick up the ADC kill, and here comes Brody as well. Fobiox going to be going down. Deletus still just running around looking for the kill onto the rail, but it's not going to be had. They will go down, and again, another play initiated from Fourth Wall, and won by Rich Gang.
If they had only gotten one more, they could have said, worth, we got at least two onto our main carries, but just Fruity falling, Gregory manages to weave away from the Zinja W, Stumpy providing enough CC to keep the leaders at bay. While a good aggressive play instantly gets turned around by Rich Gang, and it is, again, without the extra kill, the snowball keeps on rolling forward.
4K
Dragon
gold
up,
lead.
yeah, and Dragon up in 30 seconds.
Dragon up in 30 seconds, as you said. And they have the Rift Herald, I believe. Have they actually... Where's the Rift Herald gone? Have they used it?
Yeah, they used it when Anivia rotated down on the bot side of the map. They used it in the... Not sure if they used it in middle or bot, but they did.
Okay, well now they're looking for the pick. They've taken a leaf out of Rich Gang's book from last game. They're not going to be able to find any success there, but they are trying to hold off aggressively from allowing Rich Gang into this dragon. And they're down to take this 5v5. Carvers, it sounds crazy, but maybe this is what they have to do.
Victor could find a good engage on the Sumi, who goes wide.
Ooh, they're looking to go back in. Deletus goes aggressive, does manage to force Broda away, and Ornhorn does manage to land onto Greg, but again, not the targets that you were looking to find. Still not onto that backline, but do take down Stumpy, so they have held for a little bit longer. Deletus now stepping forward, could be losing their life though. Magnistor to hold them in, will be staying alive for a bit longer, but a four-man stun is going to land, and again, it is Fourth Wall that are winning the fight. Rich Gang haven't managed to convert their lead into a team fight win here, and Fourth Wall breathe a sigh of relief.
Rich Gang cannot reach Pipey. He is the key target. Sure, you can hit the front line all you want, but you're eating Zeri DPS all the way through. And with two members down, Fourth Wall find themselves their first objective of the game. Sumi still trying to work his way through Victor, who has a Kenny Crooked. I think the fight might not be over.
This could take a while if they were getting to Victor there. They do manage to find the first drake though. Ocean Dragon going to be picked up by Fourth Wall, and a very strong display. When we thought it all could be over, they said, you know what, we're still in this.
The Orn was the key that they needed. With the Kenny Crooked, it is not easy to break through the front line without fully committing on it. Senna still missing some items, only has the lethality squishies quite fast, but a chunky boy like Victor is going to be a bit more of a problem, and with only 2 AP items to scaling ones built by Sumi, the Kenny Crooked will for now keep very healthy. And this just results in Fourth Wall getting a sight on how to play these upcoming minutes, okay?
Yeah, but how long will it last? That's the question on my mind, right? The scaling is still there for Rich Gang. However, I am happy. Fourth Wall have started to make this a bit of a game. They pick up that dragon, and they relieve a little bit of pressure away from themselves with that dragon.
And with the soul being another ocean, this is not the most impactful soul. It's not like the Infernal we had before that you will 100% fight over. People have lost with the soul when they get caught out in a random place in the jungle. But it does help characters like Zeri who have the long range and look to weave back and forth in and out the fights that last.
What is happening?
What is this?
This fight's been going on for ages, by the way. Like I've seen it on the side on the mini map, and they've just been smashing each other for so long, and no one is close to death. So that is just top lane for you. 2 tanks going at it. But right now we are going to see. Again, the push onto mid, Pipey trying to get a little bit of gold. If we can have a look at the gold actually in general, I want to see how far Pipey is ahead because they are 1.2k up. So still not massively ahead of Pretty Fresh, but something is better than nothing.
And 2 items from Pipey. Emo and Broda has to burn his ultimate.
Able to get away from Sir Victor though. As
okay, let's move on. Mid lane, there's a huge push coming mid lane.
Yep. We don't talk about that one. We're going to keep moving on as Zelita's stepping forward with the ADC and the mid laner trying to just force this tier 1 tower, and they are forcing a bit of pressure onto Rich Gang here. I don't think they're going to be able to take the tower straight out, but they are rotating Rich Gang around and making the map feel like a lot of smaller place.
Yeah, and split pushing Anivia is not what I expected to see at 20 minutes in the game, but Sumi is drawing enough pressure away from the mid lane that Portal can't fully commit to taking down and opening up the map a little bit more. And with only the Baron, there's no real angle for... Oh no.
Ooh, good flash.
Yeah, had to get out of there. If that pick had gone over, you again give full initiative for Rich Gang to ward up sides of your jungle and play aggressively. Nautilus is the other key engage tool along with Victor when the Oran Horn is down. But as I was saying, getting some sort of a play going when the only objective on the map is the Baron is just asking for trouble. Rich Gang is so fast on the rotations with Viega.
Talk about fast. How fast could they do Baron? Because Anivia, to my knowledge, is quite good at taking the Baron. And we've
considered it.
And we've seen the Rich Gang are quite bold when it comes to taking that buff.
I honestly think you're correct. They probably could just start it up and try and take it if they feel confident. With the Black Cleaver, especially on the Viego, providing the additional armor shred, they have quite a bit of DPS, and that's probably why 4th Wall was choosing to commit on top side instead, letting Rich Gang have the vision control around this dragon area. They are capable of giving one more away for free before they have to start worrying about taking the actual fight.
And talking about actual fights, we might get another one as we are seeing 4th Wall start to press the advantage around that dragon fight. However, this time it's not going the same as before. They're being forced away, and it is Rich Gang that hold the Dragon River control. But 4th Wall still trying to move forward. However, the lead is taking a big chunk of their health from Stumpy at the start of this fight. Isn't what you want to see. Still, however, very active, and Daisy causing some problems, so will be removed before this fight will begin. That is one member taken out from 4th Wall already, as we see Broda looming, looking for the target. Look, he's going to land onto Gregor, and we do see the Glacial Storm put down. Now stepping forward is Deletus. They're going to go aggressive onto Broda. Can they find the damage? Might be the one to watch out for. Still not really getting into range, and it's a 4th Wall disaster. They're going to have to run away. They cannot deal the damage, and they get split apart. Pipey just not able to get into the fight, Carvis.
What a barrel from Stumpy. Separates everybody. Not only that, the fancy beat of the Rich Gang. Oh. Okay, Pipey survives with a scare. Victor's ultimate hit pretty much nobody. After the initial hook from Fabio, they couldn't lock down any of the key targets. Broda, while he did get initiated onto by Deletus, defensive Heartbreaker got him out of there, and Sumi was left alone to set up a Glacial Storm to freeze everyone in place who dares to approach, and without the Daisy there, you have to frontline with your face. Losing the Daisy was huge.
Oh, and talk about huge. Greg, what are you here? We'll be able to jump over the wall there, so it does get to safety, but a bit of a risky play from Rich Gang support. as they will stay alive. And now there is that question about, can Baron be done, right? We saw that team fight. It didn't go the way of Fourth Wall. This time they couldn't get onto the backline. They couldn't allow Pipey to do damage in the fight at all. And if Rich Gang can just hold off that one carry that we talked about before, they can win these fights cleanly.
And it's going to be the third item that Fourth Wall are looking for. Getting levels onto Victor would be important, but if it turns into a Rich Gang Baron, they can't really put Victor on the side lane safely. They can look for Gregory.
Gregory is just, I don't know if he's like playing with fire or like just trying to have a bit of a goofy moment or have some fun, because it almost feels like they're playing like, how far can I get before I have to, you know, risk my life?
Turns out quite far. He's been way up in there in the red buff area and still getting out the fight easily. Again, Daisy just being chunked down, removed from the rift by a Rich Gang. And if they get full control around this Baron, they should be starting a fight. With third items being the Leandria Sumi. Olivia, who already deals a ton of Baron damage, is that much stronger.
Yeah, 3 items on the Anivia Sumi. It's quite scary already and has a lot of burn damage, has a lot of potential to heal them or stay alive, sorry, in these fights as well. It's going to be quite difficult to take down the Anivia. Pipey still just trailing behind some of these bigger carries, and the topside jungle of Fourth Walls has become Rich Gangs, and this obviously adds to the threat of the potential Baron.
Still, the dance continues. Stumpy without any sort of magic penetration will have a rough time breaking through the candy cocoon of Victor, trying to establish lane priority. But as you can see, lane priority established on the top side of Sumi absolutely deletes these waves. And this puts Fourth Wall in an awkward position where without full vision control of the top side jungle, they have to go the long way around without a flank.
And it also just makes them guessing. Like, we could be doing Baron right now. You don't know about it. And Fourth Wall are being goaded slowly but surely into this. So Victor obviously trying to get a bit of damage onto Stumpy. It's something that we've seen all game long, but that Baron is still a looming threat.
Looming in the future, as reasons coming. And Fourth Wall, they finished the Infinity Edge Pipey. So a huge power spike in terms of raw damage. Now it's just a question, can their frontline survive? A Flame Horizon is almost there in the jungle. Rhoda's that far ahead. There it is. That's Flame Horizon.
There we go, 100 CS up, and I will say Sumi also getting pretty close to that over the Ivan too, so it's starting to look a little bit more bleak. 7k gold in the lead is Rich Gang. Baron potentially looming. 1 minute until Soul Point as well, and I feel like Fourth Wall, they're gonna have to find a fight soon, but I don't know if Pipey is strong enough. 3 items complete, Carvers, but are there any more that you really want to see, right? Is there any potential like ad for LDR maybe?
The ornament that just popped into Pipey's inventory. Again, a nice chunk of damage. Teleport coming in from Olivia, they're gonna fight.
They are going to start to fight this. Here comes the Ornhorn. We'll be able to get the knock up on the Great Greg, but the Magnet Storm holding the front line back. However, the damage is not matched. A lot more going out from Fourth Wall as now flash forward. Fabios not able to find onto the back line of Rich Gang. Rich Gang going to be able to deal with Daisy and set themselves up, as it looks like Fourth Wall might actually just be going for the Baron.
They kind of have to. It's make or break, as 20 seconds still, and the death time from Greg will take quite a bit of time to join the fray. Only Stumpy that provide front line.
Ooh, Fabios manages to get onto the Anivia. There's the surging forward. They manage to do so much damage. They put them into egg form, and Fourth Wall show what they can do when Zeri's in these fights.
Clean catch. Channeling the Hex Flash way in advance. Fabio finds the pick once again onto Sumi. And this, again, Fourth Wall, while situation may have looked desperate a minute ago, This keeps them in the game, similar to...
Wait, top side.
Whoa.
Zeri, are you good, Pipey? Are you okay? You're getting chased down by the Viego, and they're not going to stop there. That's an aggressive push. Heartbreaker will take the Zeri, and Toxie now under threat. There's the double kill for the side of Broda, and they can maybe look for the Baron.
I should cast the curse fourth wall by just starting to say this is looking like a reverse of game 2, and instantly Pipey gets caught, and this is going to be a Baron for Rich Gang unless some sort of a miracle still comes from Deletus. He's on his way, but Rich Gang can turn this around at any moment.
So Victor making the way over. It's too late. That's going to be the smite. And Rich Gang have secured Baron for 5 members. When it looked so good, when we thought we saw a light for fourth wall, the tunnel gets closed.
And it's, again, the split happening from fourth wall. They've shown multiple times, if they are all together, all the Rangers have been assembled, Pipey gets to do his thing, they can win those team fights. They have the range advantage, they cannot break through the front line and deal with the Zeri. But if they are separated, Rich Gang instantly capitalize and start taking over the rest of the map. Stumpy sieging up bot. Here's their chance.
Oh, Sumi claws out again. Nice hook does lead to an easy kill. And once again, fourth wall are able to just to push the agenda. They can force their will upon Rich Gang. And there is not much rebuttal to be had from the other side. Fourth wall still chasing down to just force them away. But a tier 2 tower is going to be collected in the bot side. As we do see Ruthie Fresh. Oh, no, I don't know about this one, man. Like, they're going way too far. They're getting too overzealous, and it's going to be an easy kill for fourth wall to pick up Broda.
Again, giving some free gold away onto Pipey, already 300 CS, fourth item approaching. And now, fourth wall, they have control of the map. They can go and break this mid-outer tower that has been keeping them choked on their own side for so long of this 30-minute game.
And a lot of questions I have for Rich Gang, right? They got the Baron, they looked strong, and then they just decide to just overstep.
Overconfidence, painful that lives within all of us, and this time it has caught Rich Gang by their ankles, just setting them back on such an advantageous game that they now have to again work the way towards. They have almost no time on the Baron left either, so they got pretty much nothing out of it.
And that question being asked of the scaling, right? We talked about the Zeri and how they could potentially be a massive monster, but do they have enough damage? At the moment, they definitely do. And we're not even seeing the rebuttal from Sumi that I talked about, right? Because Sumi is just getting picked every single fight.
Sumi's he's positioning really aggressively, trying to look for those walls to cut off any stragglers and force the Zeri to burn her E if she wants to move up in the fight. But then you put yourself under threat of a Nautilus engage. You put yourself under threat of an Oranhorn suddenly catching you out. Even Fruity isn't safe from that because the Oranhorn will remove the initial spell shield from the Hegemite. It's more that the Nautilus can't just death charge him all the way from downtown. But with this double split push going on, fourth wall, well, that they may have a chance. Broda
getting a little bit too close for comfort there. Will be able to get away. Asumi just continuing on the split push, but may have to go back to base. Maybe needs to help out with the wave clear, and I think the Innovator is going to finally go back as Victor will match them. And it begs the question of, we have another dragon in 120. Are fourth wall just going to keep holding on with the control?
Perilous situation, Broda. Separated from the rest of his team. If he gets found out by the Scuttle...
Which he does. No, you need to run! You need to run, bro! Don't walk, run, because you're going to get knocked up. Heartbreaker will buy a bit more time, but Fabian's looking for the hook. Does manage to land it, and Deletus on their way with Pipey. It's a risky situation for nothing, but here comes the barrel. Deletus now in trouble, has to run away. The Ornhorn going to be utilised, but it's scrappy. Fourth wall not in their positions, and are going to be getting caught out here. Broda still alive, and Sir Victor now stepping a little bit too close. Is Broda going to take the Heartbreaker and get out once again? It's a 1-4-1 so far. Support for Jungler, but in front of a dragon that is massive.
Pipe has no more ultimate. The dragon is spawning in 25 seconds. Rich Gang wants to push their advantage, but the push is dangerous.
Ooh, do not just walk in there for free. Be careful, Rich Gang. You gotta be cautious. The hook gonna go slightly wide. Fourth wall losing their tempo, losing their cool a little bit. They've got to play this smart. They've got to play it strategic. Still can pull off a big victory here if Pipey is able to get a lot of damage down. But Rich Gang holding the advantage at the moment, forcing them back. Glacial Storm starting to burn, but the knockups do come through, and Sumi is in trouble. Touches away, gets a bit more time. Pipey has gone down, as you said, and now Stumpy going into the backline, forcing them away. The dragon will be Rich Gang's, but they're going for more. They're looking for the final few kills. So Victor trying to make their way out is so tanky, and with the trigger seeds from the Ivan, going to be too much of Broda. Now they're going to start walking away, but Sir Victor stepping forward doesn't want this fight to end, but it might be the wrong call. The Ornhorn comes in, but it will not make itself out.
Pipey stepping a bit too far forward, instantly gets jumped by the Viego. What looked like a catch on the Sumi turns horribly wrong, and losing the ultimate down on the bot side fight while only getting one down from Rich Gang is such a painful fight for fourth wall. They bet it's all on this dragon, but now their mid lane inhibitor's gone.
Has Rich Gang overstepped here? They are trying to make the run. The slow is too much from the side of Sumi, and they will be able to walk out. So Rich Gang hold on, and they look potential turn here. They're looking to go back in. There's no one. There's the Magnet Storm, but can they get onto Pipey? Pipey just dancing around the fight. Does have a big shield and is able to stay alive a little bit longer. Able to buy a bit more space between them and Broda. But Broda jumping straight back in. The support has gone down, and now the Nautilus is in the hands of Rich Gang, but they don't need his Stumpy with the explosion, and that is it. Rich Gang got into the base, and they will destroy this game and this series.
Rich Gang getting just a little bit richer as they head into the finals of NLC Division 2. On what a performance, 3-0ing their opponents in the winners finals. Incredible performance with Aurelion Sol disabled. They show that they can play standard as well.
Rich Gang 3-0. We talked about these two teams taking on each other in the regular season. It was 2-0. There's been changes. There's been updates. Fourth Wall have looked stronger than ever, but Rich Gang still hold out and take themselves to the finals. However, if you're a Fourth Wall fan, it is not over just yet. They still have the lower bracket to run. They're still in the playoffs. But what a message to send to the rest of the league.
And Rich Gang, as you said, before we started the series, they looked a little bit weak in the early stages of the game. They went all the way 5 games against the Ruse, who already got eliminated in the tournament. This is a completely different Rich Gang that showed up today, and it looked scary for anyone who dares to approach them in the finals.
Now, scary indeed. It's a rough one for Fourth Wall. The plans just didn't work. I think had game 2 gone differently, maybe we get a much longer series. But at the end of the day, Rich Gang, they came to play and they shut it down. I believe we're going to go to a quick break, Carlos. When we come back, we'll be getting an interview from Rich Gang. We are back once again, and we are joined by Broder, the jungler from Rich Gang. Welcome in. Obviously, big congratulations for you guys making it to the finals. And the first question I got to ask you is, are you guys feeling this Aurelion Soul ban quite a lot, or do you feel like it's not really phasing you?
We're kind of feeling it because it was like kind of nervous for us because pretty like last day or like 2 days ago we pretty practicing it as scrims, and then we got info we can't abuse him, and what I know we like to abuse our dragons, but then we can't. So yeah.
Well, instead of that, you decided to abuse some other broken junglers instead. And the Viego, while it looked clean, you in the game one picked Brand, did really well on it, and never touched it again. Can you? What made you change up the plan so drastically from games 1 to 2 and 3?
I mean, I just noticed I played too many games at Brand this season, so I just decided to pick some other champions. Yeah.
A very Rich Gang-esque. It's a fits your style. And with this clean 3-0 against Fourth Wall, you guys came into this game off of a very close game 5 situation from Ruse, who already got eliminated. So what changed for you? And since Ruse is now gone, is there anyone left to stop you?
I think nobody will stop us, but I think the Ruzek was like a bit similar playstyle to us, and it was pretty hardest to adapt because we need to find like better champion pool jungle also, because like Flaming has pretty similar to me, and yeah, and also they have pretty aggressive bot lane, and we like to scaling. I also like to scaling at jungle. So then was a bit struggling with Ruzek, but with this team, what we're playing today was kinda easier.
Okay, I got the final question here. Like, you guys, you win the game, but it's not always without risk. I feel like you guys, especially yourself, like putting yourself in dangerous positions where you could almost get caught and almost die. So the real question I've got for you is, you clearly risk it for a biscuit, but what biscuit are you risking it for?
I don't understand.
What's your favorite biscuit? That's what we want to know, Broder.
Biscuit?
These are the real questions.
Biscuit, like a cookie.
Cookie?
Yeah. That's what he's asking.
I need to translate it. Well, how to write it?
Okay, all right, it's fine. It's fine. I'll ask you another league question, and we'll get to that in a second. All right. Okay.
I can't believe
This is not what I was expecting to happen.
Jay, you're too UK for us, mate.
Yeah, I'm too UK apparently. That's just what happens. But at the end of the day, okay, so you guys do like to risk it a lot. Is that part of the game plan, or are you guys just very confident in the fact that you'll still win all these fights? Because obviously in game number 2, in the final team fight, you yourself, well, realistically should have died, but you didn't.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty like to just stay on line of life. So yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. With that being said, that is going to be the end of the interview. Thank you very much, Broder, for coming through. And do you want to give anyone else a shout out before we let you go?
Yeah, I want to greetings all of Juraviki and full of my teammates.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming to the interview. I think we're going to throw it back to just me and Carvis now on the screen as we do close this one out. So Carvis, we've had a big day of League. It's a 3-0, Rich Gang in the finals. We'll find out what their favorite biscuits are a little bit later. But Carvis, what are you saying? What are your final thoughts on today?
Whoever's heading up to the finals, good luck, because Rich Gang showed us that there's a reason why they were the number 1 in the regular season. And, well, at this point, I don't know who can challenge them. I'm looking forward to our next game on Friday.
Indeed, me too. So with that being said, we're going to say goodbye for tonight. You can catch us once again on Friday. Shout out to our producer, Vodka, for stepping in late as well. And obviously shout out to Tiv and all the NLC staff in general. But with that being said, we'll see you on Friday. Make sure you don't miss more of the playoff action.